Admitted that he bribed members of parliament?
Well, when he said
the government,
when he said that he gave the 10 million was for what?
We're always quick to point faults in somebody else before you look at your own faults as a person.
If it was Kanu's day, hii amuka naye leo, ungekuwa umeenda bali sana hii. So when we must celebrate you.
There are 600 million people now globally estimated to be living with diabetes in the world. So it is a major health problem. It's the largest single disease rising pandemic that we're dealing with right now.
The Situation Room, Kenya's biggest conversation. The following takes place from 6 a.m. to 10 a.m. every weekday on SpiceFM.
Presidency is fairly interesting in the sense that it will actually take us to a new consciousness.
Swali zile watu waulizi na swali muuliza na shangala ni aje kwani huku kunaendaje?
30 billion shillings annually on travel alone in public service.
A Kenyan can even demonstrate every single day of his life that Ruto must go. That is the only message of his demonstration. That is his right.
That bribe blinds the eyes of the wise and subverts the cause of those who are in the right.
This is the Situation Room, the only way to start your day.
The following takes place from 6 a.m. to 10 a.m. every weekday on SpiceFM.
SRC's mandate is constitutional. It's not an advice. It's actually something you must do.
Must do.
Like now, he abandoned, of course, the narrative of Wheelbarrow, Mutanu, Mamamboga, and all those, that rosy narrative.
Your expenditure is 3.3 trillion, and you're collecting only 2.5. Out of that 2.5, you're spending 1.8 trillion to service loans and so forth.
That the CDF kit, it's in itself a symptom of corruption.
This is the Situation Room, the only way to start your day.
The following takes place from 6 a.m. to 10 a.m. every weekday on SpiceFM.
I am also a publicly elected official. Okay. My salary is paid by your taxes.
Yes.
So if you need me to answer questions, we will not run away from you.
Asante
We will always be here.
The government itself is engaging in corrupt practices. That the government itself deliberately schemes to influence through bribery members of parliament.
You pay for a passport online. Alafu you're told there are no booklets.
I rebuke matters corruption because corruption has brought this country to its knees.
This is the Situation Room, the only way to start your day.
The following takes place from 6 a.m. to 10 a.m. every weekday on SpiceFM.
Members of parliament, they go to set house, they just promised they get given tea, mandazi, and 100,000. That's not development.
External borrowing, 589 billion. Are we on the same page? What did parliament pass?
If anything happened to our president today, God forbid, that man would become president. Na ndio alilenga hizo stories za Shakahola.
The real thing is our constitution has only one person who is accountable to us.
This is the Situation Room, the only way to start your day.
The following takes place from 6 a.m. to 10 a.m. every weekday on SpiceFM.
Baba should disown these experts and they say they went there on the because he keep on telling us that these experts just you came from Dubai and you found them there already at State House looking for jobs.
Government has to has to introduce austerity measures. It's something that this government and the previous ones have not been able to do in this country. We've talked about it so many times.
And really, I think you have seen the modus operandi of William Samoei Ruto since he came in. It's just showbiz.
This is the Situation Room, the only way to start your day.
The following takes place from 6 a.m. to 10 a.m. every weekday on SpiceFM.
Parliament has got powers. Let me break it down. The National Assembly can initiate an impeachment of the president.
This same National Assembly.
Yes.
That's our constitution.
Because this is just a continuation of the previous administration, which Ruto was part of. President Uhuru himself openly said that we're losing 2 billion daily. Daily. I mean, come on. Are you saying that we don't have a central bank?
If we look at Kenya, both public-private sector, that figure is ranging between 30 to 40%, right?
I think it's clear that the government of Kenya is living beyond its means.
This is the Situation Room, the only way to start your day. Mature, intelligent talk every morning. Spice up yourself. Mornings done right. 94.4 Spice FM, Nairobi.
And before you know it, it's already Thursday. I don't know what I'm doing. It's actually Thursday. Yes, it is, good people. A very, very, very good morning to you and hope you're doing all right. It's 13 minutes after 6 o'clock and we're getting into the Situation Room for this Thursday morning. Yesterday, you were on holiday, marking Eid al-Adha. And here we are back today, getting into things this morning. Karibuni sana, thank you for being here today. Don't worry, things are just going to come together because he's seated and he's in pink. Good morning.
Good morning.
How are you?
Kofidi.
Uko salama? Very good.
Kila kitu kiko sawa. Mungu anasaidia.
Mungu anasaidia kabisa. You made it through Wednesday.
You made it through Wednesday.
And here we are on a new day. I'm fine, thank you.
Good to see you.
Good to see you too.
Yeah.
Welcome.
The weather is weathering. Yo.
Let me tell you this. Ooh, so now you know what? The thing has to behave itself. So I would like to let you know that the cooler weathers have actually kicked in. I know it just happens like one day.
Yeah.
Like one day you just wake up and like boom, and that's where we were. So it started to get a little bit cooler, but then I think now Kenya is going into what you would call the winter.
Our version of the winter.
Yes. Things have cooled down significantly and we're getting into it. So June, July, usually the cool months. And this is going to be combined, this is going to be coupled with rain for all intents and purposes. So you guys saddle up because the cold months are actually here for all intents and purposes. We'll see the sun peeking through every now and then. Amani Aila from Maisha the other day was asking, what's the word for sunrise? Oh, the sun is not, there was a word he used. It's so Swahili.
Kumechomoza.
Atupambazuki.
Kumepambazuka?
Yeah. So that's like
Hakupambazuki.
The sun is rising, right? Or something like that. So he was wondering why it's still dark even at this time.
Yeah, Hakupambazuki.
Tis the season.
Yep.
So either way, hiyo Kiswahili inatiririka.
Mtiririko wa Kiswahili.
Wewe, telling you I'm learning this language properly.
Proper.
EVE is here.
Is here.
Good morning, EVE. This is another day to remind you that the good people of Kenya have decided that no EVE, no voting. It's not me who said it's them who said that they want to see. They don't understand these things that they said, wallahi, they said if they don't it's like things they don't know if they actually exist. We could just be here saying Evie, maybe she's not there. It's like the Bermuda Triangle, or is it actually true? It's like the Loch Ness Monster. Does it actually exist? Evie, is she actually somebody? You see, they think we're lying because they never see you.
Yes,
somebody they might see but they might not hear is actually back today, as in she talks like this and is never in a hurry, never speaks louder than this, but you feel her. Mutanu, good morning, karibu sana. Making sure that you can see the little clips every now and then after we've had a conversation, so everybody's here. Joy B, good morning. I don't know where she's hiding. I don't know, somebody is waving at me. I don't understand. That's not Joy B.
That's Derek, I guess.
Derek, good morning. It's Collins. Derek is on this other side. It's Kolo. Good morning. Let's just greet everybody so that you can know. Kolo is over here with Radio Maisha. Derek is over here with Berur. Joy B is hiding somewhere, but it's okay. Just so that you can know that they're actual people who actually make sure that all of these things can come together. Sawa? Very good morning to everybody. Karibuni sana. Thank you for being here with us as we get into the conversations for today. I'm trying to breathe because today I have resolved
to
try as much as I can to not be hangry.
Okay. Hangry or angry?
Both.
Okay. So let's say hangry.
Because what?
Let's combine both, yeah.
Well, we're going to get into it either way, and some of the things that we're going to have discussions about. But before we even do that, to let you know what's going on where, let's talk to you about some of the conversations that we shall be having today. Coco. All right, we're going to start it off today, with our conversations that start at 7 o'clock. So what is that? That is a conversation... Again, Game Plan 2027 is going to be a recurring conversation right here in the Situation Room because it grabs our attention whether we like it or not. And so today, we'll talk Game Plan, and I'll tell you what that is in just a minute. Just my gadgets, just behave itself. But before we go to Game Plan 2027, we will start off with... me, I don't know what if he did here, or it's me who is just not... operating today. All right. The Mungai budget is Joachim Simiyu is the Secretary General of the Safina Party. Can I just order my thoughts right? The Secretary General of the Safina Party is Joachim Simiyu. Sorry, Evie, it's not you. It's all me. It's not about you. It's me. The Mungai budget is what we're looking at today. The number of bunges. Do you say bunges la Mungai? All of in the city.
Bunge ya wananchi.
Bunge and bunge is singular and plural, whatever the case may be.
I think it's
Mabunge za wananchi.
I think it's bunge is bunge.
Yeah, bunge is plural, bunge is singular.
Bunge za.
Bunge
so you
za.
just as. Yeah.
All right. Okay.
Ni bunge ya wananchi. I don't know. Let's just use bunge.
Those ones.
Yeah.
I didn't realize that there were so many around the country.
Yeah.
I just imagined that there was one body that sat in one place, but then I realized that different areas of different cities
chapters,
have exactly. And I said, this is it. That's what citizen governance is about, where people have an opportunity to come and make their opinions heard. And that would be a great place to actually talk to folks about certain things. And I didn't realize that there were so many. So that is going on, I think it's a wonderful thing. And that anybody who wants to engage them should not do so for PR purposes, but should actually do it with, something meaningful. So the Mungai budget is what we're going to be looking at, and is actually what the people would want to see going into how the country spends its money. So Joachim joins us at 7 o'clock for that conversation. The former member of parliament for Njeri Town is Njeri. The ethnicity card, Game Plan 2027. Are we still talking about it? Yes, we are. Does it matter? Well, that's the conversation that we'll be having today. If it doesn't, why so much insistence or emphasis on it? And it plays a role here. So we'll talk about that with Njeri at 8 o'clock. I'll round out our conversations today with Budget 2026-2027, EVs and the petroleum industry impact. Electric vehicles is what EVs are. Moses Derito is Vice President of EMAC, and Martin Chomba is the Chairman of the Petroleum Outlets Association of Kenya. Electronic vehicles have made their way back into the budget for this year, and in terms of finance bill and what exactly will happen with them. Is it something that people want to do rather than the government wants to introduce? Because it's been a conversation for the longest time. In fact, there was a part of the Thika Superhighway that had already been earmarked for the road that was going to take the part of the road that was going to take electronic vehicles. Has that changed?
Yep.
We'll talk about that today. But it forms a part of the conversation around the finance bill. So let's have that conversation today. Sawa sawa.
Exactly.
So we're talking budget from the Mungai point of view. We're talking Game Plan 2027 from an ethnicity point of view. And then we're going to talk Finance Bill 2026. And we're going to look at what EVs could actually do for the economy if they were introduced. Sawa sawa. That's what it looks like today. Karibuni sana. Yes, our live streams are up on YouTube, Facebook, and on X. And it's a very good morning to you, wherever you're tuned into the Situation Room around the country, the region, and the world, whether you're listening silently, getting where you need to go. Let's talk. It's necessary that we do. We will not hide our heads in the sand. Sawa sawa. Dennis Aseto,
yes.
With you. And a very good morning to our audience on KTN. Thank you for joining us on this channel. And so let's get into our conversations after Dennis takes us to the Gambia.
We are in the Gambia. Do you have buds?
Bugs.
Birds, ndege.
Oh, yes, I
You
do.
love birds? Cool. So if you are a lover of birds...
Except for that stork. Did I have it? Sorry.
Okay.
So this is where I tell you the
Marable
story.
stork.
Yes. When I was young... when I was... How is it that I've been chased by so many animals? Anyway, when I was young, we went to the zoo.
Yep.
Okay, with my family, whatever. And there are these storks that were just, walking about. And in that moment, I can remember I was 3, 4. And the stork and I looked at each other. And in my head, I was thinking, I don't like the way this thing is looking at me.
And perhaps it was thinking the same.
Exactly.
I don't like the way this young girl is looking at me.
So instead of this thing to proceed to walk in the opposite direction and perhaps fly away, it started coming towards me. Who me, daughter of Engineer Okoh?
Whomst are you?
Whomst am I to stand there and wait for this monstrosity of a bird to come and greet me? Nani, come and I ran in that zoo. I should have just put my hands up for my father to carry me.
Yeah.
But did I?
No.
So that is the only bird that I do not like.
I will still come back with another question. The zoo where?
In Nigeria.
Nigeria?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Cool. So, in the Gambia, you guys are neighbors, right?
We're in the same
We're in the same
area.
vicinity, right?
Yes.
So they have over 600 species of birds. And bird watching is one of the common things that happen in Gambia.
Oh, nice.
And it is also home to nature reserves and the sacred Kachikali Crocodile Pool. So the Kachikali Crocodile Pool is a sacred site located in the heart of Bakau, Gambia, and is managed by the Bojang family for centuries. So when you look at families that have existed over time and what it means to that country, the Bojang family stands out there. So if you wanted to know the history of the Bojang family and its importance in the country, you go to the where? Kachikali Crocodile Pool.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Sawa. But it's a proverb.
Sawa, bus.
Now, the disobedient fowl obeys in a pot of soup.
Oh, yes, it does. See, now if we had cooked that stork. Okay, never.
Be very obedient.
Exactly.
Yeah.
You can be here faffing about, fluffing your feathers everywhere, but there is somebody to whom you will heal.
Yes.
At some point, you will pay heed to someone. And now, it would be great if it were still while you have an opportunity to do something about it, and not that somebody has to shackle you for you to listen.
Yeah.
At some point, all of us, there's a place where we will listen.
At the end of the day, someone humbles us.
Yes.
All.
Very true.
Regardless of the position you have, something or somebody humbles you.
True. Very true.
You want to interpret it whichever way? I'm seeing that happen.
Soon.
Very soon.
Yeah.
Very, very soon. Because you remember what I said yesterday? It will get to a point where the people who have been looking down on us will come to beg. Literally so. They will get on their knees. They will come to your house. They will take the mopper. They will mop your house. You guys will prepare food. You will sit there and have conversation, because then they will be humbled.
True.
By somebody.
Very true. The position of conceitedness and arrogance does not last forever.
It does not.
And at some point, the arrogant will be humbled.
Yes.
It's true.
Yes.
I'd love to see how folks will interpret that today. All right, so let's say a quick hello to you, and I can see that you're tuning into the room this morning. And I just, every time we say it as though it's kind of like a call of duty, but we actually don't take it for granted that you take the time to be part of these conversations with us. So once again, on this 28th of May, we take the opportunity to say thank you for making the Situation Room and being, part of these conversations with us every day when you do. So karibuni sana from where you're tuned in from, and even the silent listeners, we know that you're here. So just take this as a warm welcome to each and every one of you this morning. A very good morning to you, and this is coming in from Desmond Otis. How are you? Very well. Thank you for being here. Peter Chiari says, good morning from Mombasa. Jealous people don't necessarily want what you have. They just don't want you to have it. Isn't that the truth?
Yep.
Good morning to you. Kisa Daniel says, good morning, tuned in Spice. Chukunzira, where have you been?
Yeah.
Good morning, Nyinyi Watu wa TSR. Greetings from Qatar. A very good morning to you. It's good to have you here. Thank you for joining us. Leo says, hello, Princess Nduh and Aseto. 2 narratives to watch for the next year. Will they take root or citizenry? Are they the wiser? 42 verses 1. The KK regime has failed because it's sabotaged by the boogeyman, Uhuru and Rigiji. That's how you see it? Okay. Tune in from Mombasa is Robert Mbogo. And Robert Akoko says, good morning, Team Spice. Nduh and Dennis, listening all the way from Kendu Bay. Paradox. Righteous men who get what the wicked deserve, and wicked men who get what the righteous deserve. See, in life.
In life.
Samuel says, good morning, my besties. Good morning. How are you? Pace Timer says, good morning. So now we're ready to import the world's deadliest Ebola for some pieces of silver. This is why I said, let me just breathe first. They claim that the US trust our health system. There's the medicine in public hospitals. Mchezo ya omena. Mchezo ya omena. Because what? Okay, we'll talk about that in a while. Nashon Googie says, good morning, Princess Nduh and Dennis. Good morning to you. Why were we not consulted about this quarantine station?
Thank you. Public participation.
Thank you very much. When will these leaders put our interests first?
Never.
Before they agreed. Because I'm sure they will be getting kickbacks. Proper now.
Yeah.
Judas did not betray Jesus because somebody was bored. No, there was something.
Yeah.
Wanda says, good morning, Nduh Aseto, and from Toronto. Good morning to you. This Ebola outbreak is starting to worry me. I hear the US wants to send cases for treatment in Kenya. Who doesn't even have it yet? What do you think? I'll tell you what I think in a minute.
Me too.
But wacha tusalimie watu kwanza, because tusiposalimia watu na tuanze kuongea hii mambo hatutamaliza. Okay. Bwangi Juma says, good morning, SpiceFM. How are you all this morning? The blessed Thursday is the day that God has given us. Let's enjoy. UDA had to ball. Hand to ball is no longer news. David Mangera says, good morning, glad to be here once again. Spice FM, top stops, kabisa. Good morning to you. Kerry Jaguna says, good morning, Team Spice. And good morning, guys. Erica Ward, good morning to you. And Atieno Jermaine Jackson, good morning. Loud and clear from Nyahera, County 042. Nigani here, Nyahera is it?
Nyahera is Kisumu, I think.
Kisumu is actually County 042.
Yeah.
Sindo? Yeah. Izakali says, good morning, people. Just occurred to me that the brain is an amazing organ. It starts growing in the mother's womb and stops when elected to parliament.
Why are you trying to say about individuals in parliament?
Isa, good morning.
Good morning,
Isa. Dr. Venvik says, good morning. Tuning from Churia, Mombasa. Newton is in Nyakach this morning and says, good morning to you. Kimiak says, I cry for our children. Where is CS Gender? PS Children's Services. Are there child trafficking or organ trafficking syndicates that have made Kenya their playing field? No good will come out of the KK.
Who is CS Gender? Thank you.
Malo? What is it? Okay, yeah.
Let's move.
This is not just a Kenya problem.
No.
That I am crying for my country today as well. Because 46 children were kidnapped from a school, and I'm going to say it because, my God, were kidnapped from a school and one of their teachers beheaded in Obomashaw in Oyo State. Until tomorrow. Yesterday was Children's Day, celebrated in Nigeria. And the president and his wife and people everywhere shouting Happy Children's Day. Excuse me. Where are these children who've been tortured, who are sleeping outside if they're sleeping? Where are they? We can call it out in Kenya. We can call it out in Nigeria. This cannot be. What about security? And then you're telling us Tinubu 2027. No, man. Find our children today. Come on.
Yeah.
I weep. If you see the pictures, because they torture these children and then send the pictures and telling people we have them. But then you don't do anything about it. Then you stand up from Aso Rock and tell us Happy Children's Day.
In a country where we invest most on security and intelligence, you don't know where our children are. They've taken photos to show you
of these children that they have beaten.
Yes.
And they have sent it and they have put it out there. They have sent you pictures of a teacher who has been beheaded.
Yeah.
They have sent you the intelligence. And then you wake up on 27th May and be shouting everywhere from Aso Rock to around the country and be telling us Happy Children's Day. See, it's because God is my father. It's now I want to talk.
Do you know we live in a time where once
Hi.
you have a picture and you put it somewhere in Google, you can reverse engineer that to tell you the location exactly where that photo was taken?
Is it not Nigeria that wants to shout everywhere and say that we have troops all over West Africa?
Oh, yeah. We are the big boys in West Africa.
Look, that's why I said when I started in the morning, I said I'm breathing because if I start and I'm supposed to be greeting people this morning.
Greet people.
I'm mad. But Kimiak, I think you should add a line because even Tinubu's government should be added there.
Yeah.
Mashari Njeri says, good morning. Team Spice, Nduh and Dennis watching from Portland in Oregon with love. Which state lodge are we holding Madaraka Day? So Madaraka Day this year is going to be celebrated in Wajir.
Yeah.
Okay, so that happens on Monday. Luhimbo says, good morning, wonderful people from Dar as usual. Looking forward to today's talks. God bless you, Nduh and Co. Good morning to you and amen. God bless you too. Kume Pambazuka to mean the sun has risen. Yes. Good morning to you, Beverly. Good morning, Mrs. Nduh. Ooh-wee. Let's go with, sawa. And Mr. Dennis from the land of the lake, Kisumu. Good morning to you. Dr. Velvik says, Bungele Wananchi. Yeah. So it's the Bungela for everybody, the many of them. Okay. Simona says, good morning, Team Spice. What in the politics are they distracting us from when they agreed to have an Ebola quarantine facility in our country? Please shout. Shouter. Because we have to even make up words today. It would appear. Good morning, says Sarah Abat. Good morning to you, my prince. Good morning. America want their citizens infected with Ebola virus to be brought to Kenya. What do you think? Remember, Ebola has no cure or vaccine. Or this strain doesn't, at least. Rascador says, good morning, Team Spice. Kindly asking every campaign I hear issuance of title deed at the coast. Kwani, how big is this land or is it just a hoax? That's a good question. Mutuflani, good morning to the princess, the gentleman and the squad. Nduh, you know, yes. Joachim is coming and you left your contacts at home. His eyes will get a pass today. Yes, they will. No, I didn't leave them at home. They're in my bag. But laziness took the better of me this morning. Tomorrow is a day. Leomi says, bonjour mes amis, quarantine center in Kenya. How? All of a sudden, you say the US has remembered Kenya in this way. Yes. They have. And it doesn't look very exciting, but it looks like this one is a go-ahead. And we had the CS, the PS, the US coming out and saying how this is a good thing. Kai, lobotomies happen while people are awake, it would appear.
Yeah.
And Izakale Munasalmiana Okoh. Yep. Gabby Ella says, good morning, Team Spice. So my question is, Kitambo, there used to be 2 Dennises. So moja alienda wapi? My dear, hata sisi tunauliza yo swali, but you know, we have to do what? We have to move regardless. Auma Oyamo says, good morning. Laban is also here. Matthew tuned in this morning. A good morning, family tuned in from Mombasa. Tumaini says, good morning. Margaret Gadhoni is also tuned in. Chukunzira, it's about your shift. That's why. Well, we're glad that you're on a different shift now so that you can tune in. That's great. Samuel is also here telling us what he thinks the proverb means. And Joe says, good morning, Team Spice. I was both vexed and terrified when I listened to Marco Rubio. Let me tell you, I don't even think you should be vexed and terrified with them. I'll tell you why in a minute. Yeah. Zachary says, good morning, Team Spice. Kudos for the great job you're doing for us. Thank you very much. I hope I didn't miss anybody. If we did, please.
There is somebody that we need to petition. Don Sabo, where are you?
Yeah, Don Sabo, what's going on? Are you in Malawi or are you in Nairobi? Talk to us regardless. Sawa. So that is where we are. Evie, we're not going to take a break, so we just move? Okay, let's move either way. So good morning to everybody. Thank you for tuning in this morning. Like I said, if we missed anyone, not intentional, just so that we can have some time to look at some of these things. But karibuni sana, and thank you for being here with us. Let's look into the headlines this morning. On the front page of Kenya's bold newspaper, The Standard, Ebola unit uproar. Fear, anger, and shock greeted the news that the U.S. plans to send Ebola-exposed Americans to a quarantine and treatment facility on Kenyan soil in what seems like the government's willingness to turn the country into an offshore Ebola quarantine station. The controversial plan has ignited public outrage, with medics warning that the country risks importing one of the world's deadliest viruses into the fragile health system already struggling with basic care. While the government insists the arrangement is lawful and necessary for global health security, it is a dangerous geopolitical experiment turning Kenyans into guinea pigs. U.S. Secretary of State, Mr. Rubio, what did he say yesterday? And he was very clear.
Yeah.
This is about U.S. interest. It is not in their interest and or policy to do anything that is going to bring any kind of danger to the American people. Can you see where they start from?
Yep.
That is their point. That is their center point. Number one, anything that will pose a risk to the people of the United States of America is number one on their policy agenda. What is yours? Do you understand what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Is yours 30 pieces of silver? The man was categorical, very clear. It's not about, something wanting world health. No. The American people secured first. And in order for that to happen, whoever is going to be an off-taker of these people who are infected, whether they are Americans or not, that is not their problem.
Yep.
The number one thing is that their policy is to secure the livelihoods of America. You, who is taking them, what's your policy? That's my question. I just want to understand. The health minister for Uganda was asked yesterday on the Beeb, and a friend, Wahiga, asked her, you guys, she said, yes, also them, they had been approached, but they're a little bit busy at the moment, so they were not able to really deal with that situation. Mm-hmm. But, if they need, they can bring their people, no problem. Yeah?
My question is simple. The place where Ebola virus has been found and where we see many in almost 100, right? Almost 100 people dead.
Yep.
Is the place where the U.S. expertise is needed. Is where these quarantine facilities should be set up. Why? Because you are at the epicenter where the problem is at. So export that expertise and treat these people where they are. Because I want to know how that conversation started to a point where Kenya said, we are considering doing this. What kind of conversation was held between the two presidents? Because remember, we are also coming back from a point where Kenya and the US got into a deal on matters to do with healthcare.
In the first place, in terms of moving data.
Moving data,
yes,
right?
Yes.
So I want to know, was this conversation open for proposals, for objection, or was it a direction? Because they have something. They have an upper hand.
Just breathe.
Because they have an upper hand. Because you say no, and the deal we have perhaps could be scrapped.
It doesn't matter, and this is what I'm saying.
Yeah.
That when will we as African nations get to the point whereby you are also able to take the same stance that Marco Rubio took when he had that presser yesterday, and is able to say that it doesn't matter who you are. Our interest and our policy is to secure Americans first.
America first.
So you people can be speaking whichever language you want to speak. You can say whatever you want to say, but anything they do is surrounded by that. It surrounds that policy. Number one. When will you get to the point where you're also able to stand up and say, excuse me, this does not rhyme with our policy, and to say that we call the shots because we call our policy? This is the thing. How much money is enough for the United States to give you to agree to take on people with one of the world's most deadliest viruses, whether it is a quarantine facility in the middle of the Bundus? I don't care.
As long as...
How much money did they give, or are they giving? Because that's what it is, because there's no other explanation as to why you should agree to do something like this.
That something exchanged hands. Money exchanged hands. And you see, Nduh, as we talk about that, Canada, as we speak today, has suspended immigration clearance for individuals who want to travel there. Why? Because Ebola has hit Uganda. Now, you want to export that to your country, where you'll be confirming to the world that Kenya has Ebola cases within its jurisdiction. In a country where we're struggling with our own healthcare, and here we want to say that everybody else can make decisions for us. We do not have the kahunas to stand and say, we and our position is Kenya first.
These people know that this thing could wipe out populations. They know that.
They know.
But then they come and say, okay, so for some dollars, how about we give you these people and you can take care of them. If they die, they die. If they're taken care of, fantastic. But we know that we can't have them here because I don't understand. This math, is it just to me that it's not mathing? This is just the front page of the Standard.
You know, it's so nonsensical when you hear someone says that while the government insists the arrangement is lawful and necessary for global health security, it is. I'm like, global health security. How about your national health security? Yours.
Yes, exactly.
You know, what about your very own? In a country where cholera breaks in Nairobi,
and everybody is
running around because, hey, you know, we have measles, rubella every other time we have vaccines going around, and that alone, even vaccinating newborns, is a problem. You want to import Ebola into your country because you've gotten into a conversation with the United States.
My question is, what is the relationship? Look at it here. Look beyond the angst and the frustration and the irritation and the absolute chagrin around this whole thing. What has been agreed on the tables where there is no one? That America, the United States of America, will then have the temerity to come and say, Kenya, set it up there. What has happened in the back-end conversation rooms prior to this? That they can now stand up and say, hey, Kenya, we need a favor, guys. How about you take these folks? Because of what has been agreed prior to that. What is the infrastructure of the relationship that then means, because it's Ebola today, tomorrow you'll go and hear if there's something else, Kenya should come and take it. You have to ask the makeup of the conversation or the relationship that has been previously agreed on, that anything now can fly through the door. If you were a fly on the wall during that conversation, then perhaps you know a little bit better. But this, it stinks to high heaven.
You know, it is not the first time that we're having Ebola virus hitting the world. In 2014, there is an American who contracted Ebola. And President Obama at the time ensured that individual was chartered a plane way back to the United States and was treated in the United States. If at all, the policy is America first. Your citizens come first. Treat them at your own expense.
Come on.
If you want to treat them at the epicenter, that's on you. If you want to treat them back home, that's on you. But please, at this point, we have to protect ourselves. We must protect our borders, and we must protect our people, and say no to this.
If this doesn't make you mad, I don't understand what will. In fact, if the way in which this is dealt with is very important as to how the foreign policy of Kenya works, number one.
True.
And actually what your government thinks about you and the securing of your livelihoods. Wallahi.
Don't even start talking about sovereignty.
It doesn't go beyond that.
Don't even start talking about sovereignty. Because sovereignty belongs to the people. What are the people of Kenya today saying about the decisions being made by the government?
I even asked myself, are these Kenyan Americans? Are these people who are Kenyans, residents in the United States?
No.
Because it doesn't make sense to me. The headlines on page 2 and 3 are around this story as well. U.S. plan for Ebola isolation facility in Kenya divides health workers, because there's some health workers who are saying this is a mistake of epic proportions. You can't do this where we already have a compromised health system in the country. When you're still dealing with things like malaria and other things, then you want to now, and you're not even able to handle that. But then somebody also said, well, what do you expect? You take their aid, in comes the trade. And this is the trade that we're talking about, unfortunately. Kenya, the guinea pig is the question. Trump offer and other deals that evoke queries. Concerns that quarantine facilities for U.S. citizens would expose Kenyans to the disease. Several of Ruto's cooperation agreements with foreign countries deemed self-defeating. It's what we're looking at here. Residents worried as thousands cross borders unscreened. Could that be the reason why Trump and the boys said, you know what, send them to Kenya, no big deal anyway? Looking at some other stories making the headlines today, because we're definitely going to come back to that one. Forced IEBC budget cut spark fears of states bid to suppress democracy. So, well, if he who pays the piper calls the tune and he who holds the purse holds the power, if IEBC's budget is going to be cut, then it's very possible that somebody will hold somebody by the short and curlies and say, you're going to have to do what I say.
You know what? IEBC needs to do the most amazing thing. Get rid of the most expensive aspect of it all, the National Tallying Center, and you have money to spend.
You do. You have a little bit more money, don't you?
Exactly.
IEBC just needs to follow the law.
True.
Period. Guess what? If you follow the law, I promise you, all of these things that you're worried about, they will fall into place.
They will fall into place.
Follow the law.
Mm-hmm.
Unity calls dominate at the celebrations, and I thought that was a lovely thing to see, where folks are saying, you know what, we need to come together.
Mm-hmm.
The prayer breakfast happens this morning, and I know that crews are already on the way there. Hypocrisy at prayer breakfast as politicians spare insults for rivals, as in, I'm going to insult you to within an inch of your life, but then guess what? Let us pray.
Let us pray.
Yeah.
Let us bow down, close our eyes. I can't close my eyes, man. You can stab me at the back.
There are a lot of other stories making it here, but unfortunately, our correspondent in Nakuru, Kipsang Joseph, is telling us 10 students have been killed in a 2 a.m. dormitory fire at the Utumishi Girls High School in Gilgil. Search and rescue efforts are ongoing. This is according to the Rift Valley Regional Police Commander Samuel Ndanyi. Mm-hmm. He's confirmed this. And yet another school gone up in flames. In this case, 10 children are dead.
10.
Yes, 10 children have been killed. I know that they say that this is happening right around the time that mocks are going on and that we're going to exams, but there's unrest in schools. It started in the eastern belt, and it's slowly making its way, and it's already going west.
Yeah.
If this is not handled properly, we're going to have more going up in smoke. Yes. Am I the one who's the harbinger of doom this morning? Yes, because maybe it's about time we say it. Damn it. If we don't handle things, we get in trouble.
True.
If we don't handle things, children die. If we don't handle things, schools are burnt. If we don't handle things, people lose their livelihoods. If we don't handle things, education goes down the crapper. We have an issue with health. We have an issue with foreign policy. If we don't handle things, people with Ebola come into the country and you're not able to screen. Do I sound a little bit angry this morning?
Angry.
Because we don't want to handle matters. You don't want to handle it, and you think that it's going to go away. It will not go away.
True.
If you don't handle it. Handle it. Come on.
How are we starting to explain that to parents that their children died in a dormitory fire? Page 8 as well speaks of Uhuru faces Ruto in court over 16 billion shillings Jubilee funding arrears. So yeah, there's that as well. Political parties, funds as well, and monies that need to be there. But let's go to Kenya to adopt Brazilian sugar to fuel model.
Okay.
So Kenya is shifting its focus beyond table sugar to ethanol production as a new strategy to revive the sugar industry, lower fuel cost, and create thousands of rural jobs. One asks the question, how many fuel processing companies do we have running in the country for us to say, beyond just sugar, we're looking at crushing for fuel? Struggle Daily Nation.
Tafadhali Anga, because
you think it's even better here?
Aye.
It starts with Trump's secret Ebola deal with Kenya. Now, Kenya has struck a deal with the United States to host a quarantine facility for Americans at risk of or infected with the deadly Ebola virus following an outbreak in the Democratic Republic of Congo in Uganda. Now, the government was not forthcoming with details on the agreement and responded to the nation's specific questions with a vague statement. Tough questions asked, what is there behind the deal? The government responds with a statement without responding to the question that is asked. You know? Now, we have Gen Z demo fallout. Why Uhuru upset Ruto? Now, a day after the ruling United Democratic Alliance publicly disclosed former President Kenyatta rejected a cooperation deal initiated by President Ruto in the aftermath of the 2024 Gen Z protest, state house officials narrated how he has frustrated efforts by Dr. Ruto to end the bad blood between them. But Mr. Kenyatta's ally said he's not interested in personal ties so long as Kenyans' grievances are addressed.
Okay.
You don't need to be my friend. You are the president. Handle your business. Your people need to be happy. You know, usinipigie simu. I don't even want to be in your WhatsApp group. Just handle business. real-time resistance inside online tracker for public debt. Now, there's a lady, 25-year-old Ellen Kawila, who has crafted a digital tool where called the Kenya's Debt Clock, to help with instantaneous monitoring of public funds, including the growing debt that has crossed 12 trillion. So it's public. You're in there, the tech alone today, it is added on that platform, so we're able to follow where we are as a country. One asked the question, I remember the time during finance bill last year when Njeri was arrested for coming up with a similar thing.
Yes.
Are we going to allow that information to be public? Because remember, we know the debt is 12 trillion, but we do not know the details and the deals signed on those loans that we took. So perhaps we see that platform being opened. Now, ruling a win for out of wedlock children. Okay. So, the case in Kajiado reflects a reality in increasingly confronting courts. Modern families are far more complex than the traditional structure. So succession disputes should aim at achieving fairness and equity instead of mechanical equality or domination by one party. Ni hayo tu kwa sasa, because as we continue, mambo ni mengi na naona tukizidi kukasirika, because on page 4 it is that deal with US as well. When you go to page 5, page 6, if I could only turn the paper, today I am you. So there's that story on Uhuru rejected Ruto truce offers. Peace unity calls dominate Idul Adha feat as well. And maize imports hurt farmers, cut unga price. Government opened the market for importation of the produce from COMESA countries. Current price of a 90-kilogram bag of maize down from 4,600 in some areas. It's going for 3,800. We talk about protectionist policies, right? So we have farmers in the country who do the amazing work of growing maize. But what happens when you open the gates to import? How are you empowering your farmers, or how are you hurting them?
That's a good question.
That's a good question.
Yeah.
Because farmers have gone in, they've produced, but when they come to sell, they are at a loss. Why? Because you allowed importation of maize. Then you want to tell me that we are thinking of how we will crush sugar and come up with ethanol. Yet we're importing the same sugar from Brazil and packaged as local sugar. We are jokers.
You know, sugar is actually a waste product.
Yeah.
It's waste. It's just somebody decided that you can actually sweet. Yeah. It's actually waste. It is the most, from the process, sugar is actually the most useless product from the whole thing. But we put all our attention on sugar and not the other stuff.
Yeah.
So I think it's interesting.
Because it generates energy from crushing. Even the ethanol is from crushing. So what happens when all your facilities, you talk about the Mumias sugar, Nzoia sugar, Sony sugar, everything is at its knees. So how exactly are you getting the most important product from that sector? You don't.
You have to.
Yeah, Tonga Lester.
Yeah, I mean, I just want to take a moment to say that these 10 girls who were killed at Utumishi this morning, I mean, the horror that parents are going to wake up to this morning because of something that could have been avoided. You see, that's the most painful part here.
Yep.
That it could have been avoided. Then we have to do better. You guys, we have to do better. Even like this Ebola thing, I am sure that even the people who chant and want to support government and those who don't, everybody, those who support, those who don't support, those who shout 1, 3, 75 times, all of them don't agree with this thing.
True.
You cannot tell me, even if you put out a statement in your heart, in the inner sanctum where you sit and have conversations between you and your God, some things are not right and you cannot open your mouth and deal with them. What kind of bondage are we in? Look at it this morning. 10 children are dead because of something that you talked about earlier. May God forgive us. That you want to put Kenyans at risk even with this Ebola thing. May God forgive us if anything happens in this country that could have been avoided.
True.
My God, we have to do better. We can't continue like this. It doesn't matter where you are. And I'm shouting about Kenya. I'm shouting about Nigeria. I'm shouting about things that we can avoid, but we just decide it's going to go away. It won't go away.
It won't go away. It will never go away. Because ask yourself, of all the countries, why Kenya? Leave alone, of all the countries, why not your own? Why not your own? Let's talk about the fire at school. What was the problem before this? What were the students saying?
Did they say something and nobody listened?
And nobody listened. Do we have teachers who understand when students are speaking? Because people will always speak. This information is always out there.
We can't run away from the fact also that in some cases, teachers speak to students and tell them, amufanyi kitu, because they have an issue that they're living out vicariously through these children.
True.
It is not a foreign thing. It happens often.
Yeah.
So now, things that we can sort out, we choose not to sort them out until the doo-doo hits the fan, and then now we're all asking ourselves, why is everywhere dirty? Come on.
You know, I'm going to be honest, and this might be controversial. Perhaps it's about time we started having discussion about boarding schools.
Yeah.
Perhaps, because personally, I went through a boarding school, but I would never take my child to a boarding school.
Hey, Jamani Bana.
Because I know what happened there. I know exactly what happened there. There's no way I'm taking my school to a boarding school. Not to say that my school was bad, no. But I'm just not doing that. With all these conversations that we have prefects out there who are in touch with students every day. What's their role in communicating with the leadership of the school and the school to act on intelligence and information that they get? Because most of the time you find that leadership in schools, you're there to be seen, not to be heard.
Like the prefects and the whatever, it's just for you to...
It's just for you to disseminate information that comes...
If it comes.
...from the leadership. But you never take that information back because who are you?
You guys,
but it's sad.
I'm telling you.
It is sad.
On the front page of the Star, really quickly, Oburu plots a reunion with Sifuna and drops Linda faction. Okay, that should be fun. He's opted to rally members under one ODM banner. Sour. Panic as US plans to hold Ebola victims in Nairobi. You can actually pull the plug on this thing.
Yeah.
What birthright has Kenya sold? I think that's the question that I was looking for. State to get 42 billion shillings from Diageo's sale of EABL stake. That is still continuing, and that's on the front page of the Business Daily. This is what's making the news today. And I'm going to go with Senator Kajwang's words that if you are not, people are not angry enough, because if you were, you would not be silent about some of the things.
Nope.
I don't care if you're a pundit, I don't care if you're a propagandist, I don't care if you're paid, but there are some things that then border on right and wrong. There are things that border on sensibility and logic. And these things that we are seeing this morning, those are some of them. It's time for people to think. And as people gather to pray this morning, my question is, what if people actually prayed? If people actually prayed, you would get some results. It's 7 a.m.
The latest news from around the world. 94.4 Spice FM.
This is the News Wire. I'm La Ubaga. 10 students at Tutumishi Girls Academy in Gilgil, Nakuru County have perished in a 2 a.m. dormitory fire, with several others injured. Rift Valley Regional Police Commissioner Samuel Ndanyi confirmed the incident, saying search and rescue operations are reportedly underway. He added that they were also investigating the cause of fire. This event comes as some parents have already arrived at the school, even as Red Cross and KDF officers have been deployed. President William Ruto is set to lead the nation in the National Prayer Service to be held at the Safari Park Hotel in Nairobi, an event expected to bring together top government officials, members of parliament, religious leaders and international guests. The annual event will start any time from now up until 11 a.m, with this year's theme being forgiveness and reconciliation among Kenyans. Ahead of the main event, hundreds of women leaders met at the Safari Park Hotel for a women's conference chaired by First Lady Rachel Ruto to discuss issues of faith and leadership.
Jeremiah 29:7 says, "Pray for the peace of the city." I want us to have that verse as our anchor verse as we go into June and July and pray for our nation. If you're able to pray and fast, that is good. Let's pray as individuals. Let's pray as colleagues. Let's pray as prayer mates. Let's pray as the church. Let's pray for our nation.
The event has been organized by Senate Speaker Amason Kingi in collaboration with the National Assembly and the PSC. This event comes as the High Court dismissed a petition to hold the event, saying it did not violate the Constitution. However, the court ordered Parliament to provide a clear statement on the use of public funds and the costs of running the event within the next 30 days. The government has screened more than 55,000 travellers for the Ebola virus disease at various points of entry across the country, with all 10 suspected cases tested so far returning negative results. Health Cabinet Secretary Aidan Duale also says the government is ready to work with the United States and other international partners to strengthen the campaign against Ebola and other diseases. Duale also said that the country continues to strengthen its preparedness through disease surveillance at borders and airports to ensure that everyone entering and leaving the country is screened for Ebola.
Over 200 people have so far lost their lives in DRC. As a government, as a ministry, we have put all measures in place along our borders. We have put scanners. At the airport, we are doing a very serious screening of all passengers entering our country, and more so those who have either coming from Uganda or were on transit through Kinshasa. So everybody will go under serious screening and verification.
In addition, it has established 4 Ebola testing laboratories located at the Kemri Nairobi office, Kemri Kisumu branch, the National Public Health Laboratory in Nairobi, as well as mobile labs depending on the needs. This move comes as reports have emerged that the United States intends to establish a quarantine facility to temporarily house its citizens suspected to having Ebola from the DRC in Kenya until they recover. A section of Central Kenya MPs allied to President Ruto's UDA party has demanded the immediate resignation of the Secretary General Hassan Omar over alleged ethnic profiling remarks. They've rejected Omar's recent apology, giving him a 48-hour ultimatum to tender his resignation, failure to which they'll petition Ruto to kick him out.
We demand nothing less than the immediate and conditional resignation of Honorable Hassan Omar as the Secretary General of the UDA party. Should Hassan Omar fail to tender his resignation voluntarily within the next 48 hours, we will formally present a joint petition to our party leader, His Excellency President William Ruto, to invoke the party organs and officially dismiss him from the position.
And in the international scene, the UK's Royal Life-Saving Society has issued warnings on water safety after 9 people died in the sea, rivers and lakes during days of record-breaking hot weather. Tuesday saw the records for the hottest day in May broken in England and Wales, with temperatures reaching 35.1 Celsius at Kew Gardens near London. 7 of the 9 water-related deaths reported by police in England and Wales since Sunday have involved teenagers or young children. The RLSS warned that in the UK, when air temperatures reach 25 degrees Celsius, there is a 5-fold accidental drowning risk, and teenagers and young adults are proportionately more likely to lose their lives. That's the News Wire. I'm Leah Ubaga.
Hope that time heals, then we may find that in generations to come, we might be back at the same situation. And the whole thing is born of stolen elections.
Spice.
When it comes to the decisions you make, you must be independent. There's no way you can allow one institution to dictate to you how you're going to conduct your operations, how you're going to decide cases. It's a no.
When you weaken the institution to the point where they cannot take action, then you realize that politicians have to come up and now start dealing with the issues.
That conversation has to die. Our politicians do not like the hard stuff.
We must insist on the path of doing things right, whether popular or unpopular.
Money changes hands. That is a fact. If you have political goodwill at the highest top, like in Rwanda, then corruption will be an issue of the past. If you don't have political goodwill at the top, we will pass laws, we will amend laws, we will continue passing laws and re-amending laws, and nothing will happen.
This is the Situation Room, the only way to start your day.
The following takes place from 6 a.m. to 10 a.m. every weekday on SpiceFM.
Parliament has got powers. Let me break it down. The National Assembly can initiate an impeachment of the president.
This same National Assembly.
Yes.
That's our constitution.
This is just a continuation of the previous administration, which Ruto was part of. President Uhuru himself openly said that we're losing 2 billion daily. Daily. I mean, come on. Are you saying that we don't have a central bank?
If we look at Kenya, both public-private sector, that figure is ranging between 30 to 40%, right?
I think it's clear that the government of Kenya is living beyond its means.
This is the Situation Room, the only way to start your day.
The following takes place from 6 a.m. to 10 a.m. every weekday on SpiceFM.
Every time he kept on saying he wants a vibrant opposition.
How does it make sense that public money has been used already and then they dare to sell it back to you? Why are they not giving them for free?
That's how broken we are. That's how broken we are.
They are being sent home now for fees. They're going to fail to prepare. We are compromising the futures of these children.
This is the Situation Room, the only way to start your day. Mature, intelligent talk every morning. Spice up yourself. Mornings done right. 94.4 Spice FM, Nairobi.
Good morning to you, and I don't know if that's too much of a good morning. It's 9 minutes after 7 o'clock, and here we are continuing with the Situation Room this morning. And if you tuned in earlier, but just what we are hearing from Nakuru this morning, at least 10 girls, or rather students, we'll start with students, have been killed in a 2 a.m. dormitory fire at the Utumishi Girls High School in Gilgil. Search and rescue efforts are ongoing. Rift Valley Regional Police Commander Samuel Ndanyi has confirmed this. Of course, getting that first story from our correspondent, Kipsang Joseph, who is in Nakuru. And what we're going to do now is to be able to get more information from Matt. But just that Utumishi Girls High School dormitory went up in flames at about 2 this morning, and 10 students so far have been confirmed dead, at least have been killed as a result of that fire. It is a dreary morning to have to be able to hear that news. Joining us right now to be able to get more information about what happened in that particular fire is Kennedy Gashohi. He is a KTN reporter, and we'll see if we can get him on the line. Kennedy, good morning. Hey, Kennedy, good morning.
Good morning, I can hear you.
You can hear us, okay. Good morning to you. I know it's not a good morning, but of course you're abreast, you've gotten wind of the issue, what happened this morning. Can you please give us more information about this?
Well, there was a fire that broke out in one of the dormitories here at Utumishi Girls High School in Gilgil, and the cause of that fire has not yet been established, and we had people trying to respond and trying to put out the fire, and the girls some of them were unlucky. They were not able to escape from that dormitory at that time. And like an hour ago, we spoke to the Rift Valley Regional Police Commander, Mr. Samuel Ndanyi, and he briefed us that by then they had already confirmed 10 girls had perished in that fire, and this is a number that could go high because of the kind of reports that we are still gathering from inside there, because we have been locked out of the facility, but the parents have just been allowed inside They are being briefed in one of the halls. We have a team of Kenya Red Cross members who are also attending to parents who are in shock, and also those who are high anxiety because of whatever happened earlier this morning. And we are expecting maybe in a few hours, maybe a few minutes, we shall be getting an official brief from the authority.
So from what I understand, Kennedy, you're currently outside Utumishi, right, at the moment?
Yes, exactly. We are at the gate.
Okay.
We have a huge team of police officers who have been deployed here.
Okay.
Everything is going on calmly.
Has anybody from the school spoken to you? How do you know that you should wait until further notice? Has there been an official from school who's come to speak to you? And have we seen any parents or anybody else come to school as well?
Well, we have a huge number of parents who came here as early as 5 a.m. The parents had already arrived outside the school, and it was just about 30 minutes ago when they were allowed inside. And so information remains very scanty because the dormitory the fire was put out, and no official communication is coming out. They have not been able to get in touch with the school administration, and because they are busy inside there trying to maybe get things together and have the parents get the proper briefing.
Okay. So what we know so far, this fire broke out at about 2 this morning. It engulfed one of the dormitories in school. So far, the number that we've been told is that at least 10 girls have died having been caught up, and that's all we know at the moment.
Exactly, that's the only number that we have for now, but we also have reports that some of the girls have been rushed to hospital, but the numbers are very unclear because the police have been focusing on attending to those who are within the school and also going through the rubble, the dormitory which was in fire to just confirm that maybe if we have those who are still trapped inside.
Okay, so what we also understand is that some injured have been taken to hospital, from what you said. So obviously that is an issue as well. But then just finally, Kennedy, has the fire been put out?
Yeah, the fire was contained a very long time ago, but unfortunately it was a huge fire to the extent that those who were unable to exit the dormitory on time perished even before that fire could be put out.
Okay. All right. So thanks for this information. We're of course going to get back in touch with you to find out how things have progressed. It's a terrible thing to have to witness, but thanks for being there to give us this information. And, we can, stand together at this point and pray that those who've been lost, that there will be some kind of comfort and that we can get down to the bottom of this. But of course, we'll be patching in back with you later to find out any progress. But thank you for giving us this information, Gashohi.
Thank you, Nduh.
All right. Thanks. Stay safe, brother. All right, so that's what it looks like. It's tough to then be able to wake up to this morning. Utumishi Girls High School in Gilgil, part of one of the dormitories went up in flames this morning. Fire had started at about 2 in the morning, and the cause of fire is yet to be established, but we know that unfortunately at least 10 girls have died. There are a number of them who've been taken to hospital. The school administration at the moment understandably is not able to give more information than that. Parents have gathered outside the school facility as they try to, there's also a heavy police presence around school to try and find out what happened, and of course contain the area, which is what is needed in a time like this. So it's just watching that situation to find out what's going on there, and that the girls who've been injured, who are in hospital, that they may get the best care that they need, and that those who were loved by people that have lost their lives this morning, that there will be some sort of balm and that they will rest. That we don't know the situation around this. We'll, of course, trying to find out more as we do, and we'll get that and then be able to update. But that's a tragedy that we have to wake up to this morning, and it's one that affects a school in a part of the country, but it affects the entire country in terms of things that are happening. So we're going to be patching in back every now and then to find out exactly what is going on. Utumishi Girls High School dormitory went up in flames this morning. 10 girls dead, scores injured, and more information as we get it. That's what we're looking at today. And so now, as we move into other conversations that we're having this morning, Secretary General of the Safina Party is Joachim Simiyu, and he joins us this morning. Joachim, good morning.
Good morning.
How are you doing?
I'm doing well.
Karibu sana.
And you?
We're doing okay.
We are doing well.
As you came in, of course, getting up to date with some of the things that happened this morning.
I get it.
Yes. And so just then being able to report on that. And while that goes on, the National Prayer Breakfast is happening this morning. So, all roads lead in that direction for that to happen. I'm sure you'll have a thing to say about that. But Karibu Sana to the hot seat. And we're going to be looking today into a number of things. The Mwananchi budget in terms of, where should money actually be going, or what should we be looking into? But before we look into all of that, Dennis will welcome you with today's proverb. We'd love to get your interpretation of it.
Thank you.
It comes from the Gambia, the home of Kunta Kinte Island, which is formerly known as James Island, and it is a World Heritage Site due to its historical waypoint position during the transatlantic slave trade. In Gambia, when you go to elect, you don't use ballot papers.
Okay.
You use pebbles.
You
use pebbles to elect the president, and that, they have said, is our way of democracy. This is how we will choose our leaders, and the citizens have agreed. It is not expensive. Kenya can learn a thing or two.
Yeah.
But let's go to the proverb. The disobedient fowl obeys in a pot of soup. The disobedient fowl obeys in a pot of soup. How would you interpret it?
The inobedient fowl.
Yes.
Obeys in a pot of soup.
Yes.
Do fowls love soup?
Or they are part of soup.
They're
at
part
some
of
point.
soup at some point.
Oh, they are part of soup. So you can prepare soup with it.
Yes.
Okay. And it's inobedient.
Yes.
So you have to coerce it. Which means that you have to come up with your own ways of making it
part of soup.
Part of soup. So its obedience or inobedience is still in your hands. It's you to decide.
Yep.
Yeah. I think that's my best way of interpretation.
All right. Indeed. So, as SG of the Safina Party, and also looking at what it's very... no sides taken, but very clear from the very beginning what Safina has been talking about for the longest time. And that is, you have to sort out the economy. You have to make sure that you're not paying debt towards where it shouldn't be in terms of odious debt. And you have to make sure that you're actually putting money in the pockets of Kenyans. It has not been it's not far removed from that. It has been very clear.
Yes.
We're in budget period. Budget has already been set. The finance bill, which gives life to the budget, is what is currently being discussed.
Yes.
And whether it will then become an act, and then we know how Kenya is going to borrow its money for the next 1 year.
Yes.
Is it a Mwananchi budget?
It's not. Because I can see most of the discussions are based on the finance bill in this budget making process. But before we even look at the finance bill, the questions we need to ask ourselves is, why do we need a finance bill? In what circumstances is the finance bill relevant in this whole process? Because in my understanding is that when you table budget before Parliament, you have to highlight the projected expenditure of government in the coming financial year. So it's detailed, state departments, health, everything. So we know how much we need to spend. Then on the other side, you have to also highlight the revenue streams that we have, which means you have to highlight estimates of revenue. So you have to tell us where we are going to get, how much are we going to get money from fees, how much are we going to get from licenses, how much are we going to get from taxation and customs. So once we know that, now because these two sides have to balance, the expenditure side and the revenue side. When there is disparity, that the two sides are not in balance, then that's when you now introduce a finance bill to amend the existing tax regime to get some more money so that it balances with the expenditure side. So in this budget that we are discussing, do we have revenue estimates tabled in Parliament? We do not know which shortfall we are covering with the finance bill. Before we even discuss the contents of it, what is its relevance in this whole project? Because how much are we projecting to raise with our revenue? How much are we projecting to spend? And what's the shortfall?
Well, they've told you already. You're going to raise some 3-something trillion, and then you're going to borrow maybe 1.1 trillion. We need to borrow 1.1 trillion in order to make the 4.8 trillion shilling budget. 4.82 trillion shillings is what the budget looks like this year. You have a shortfall already been estimated of 1.1 trillion shillings. So by and large, that is what is going to be borrowed, whether it'll be borrowed domestically or externally.
Now, in that budget, have they highlighted the domestic borrowing estimates? So that document does not have it. So when Parliament passes that document, it means that it will be without any estimate of borrowing internally. So there will be no vote head on any domestic borrowing. So any domestic borrowing that shall be done in the next financial year will be legal. So they are setting ground for another odious debt of domestic, the domestic one, in the next financial year. So any coin that will be borrowed next year is already, the ground has been set for it to be legal. And again, that revenue estimates, it's not there in that book, in that document tabled by Mbadi. He can table it if he wants, but he has not. We do not know how much money we are going to get from from customs duty, how much money we are going to get from VAT. So even as we talk about the finance bill coming to amend the existing acts to create some more coin, we need to understand those estimates. Where are they? Because those are the estimates that shall be passed by Parliament. So without them, why do we need this document? And a finance bill is not a compulsory document in our budget making process. If we already have a debt going to 13 trillion, why do we need a budget of 4.8? I mean, how much are we, if we are going to get a lot of money from our own taxes, it will not be beyond 2.6 trillion. And our budget is 4.8. So where do we get the 1.1? And we already have a debt of 13 trillion. 13, which means in the next financial year before it's over, will be 14 point something. So until when?
I mean, Joachim, you've raised something that is critical in terms of the finance bill and the estimates of what debt will be borrowed domestically. How important, how critical is it for that to be there, for that finance bill then to be legal, or even this debt that will be borrowed to be legal?
It means that whatever we are going to borrow will not be approved by Parliament. So without the approval of Parliament, there is no way you can bind that debt to a sovereign of the country, because our representatives are in Parliament. Those are the ones who are going to look at the numbers and approve it on our behalf. So in the absence of those numbers, what are the members of Parliament passing? Because every borrowing has a vote head. So we are borrowing 200 billion to refurbish roads. So without it in the books, why are we borrowing it? For what? So that gives them a leeway to borrow to pay the existing debts. Because when they put it there, they have to highlight why it's there. And now that it's not there, they can borrow for anything. They can borrow to pay debts. They can borrow to pay SGR operations, because recently I came to realize that the railway development levy, they used 18 billion of it to pay SGR operator.
This is interesting because, okay, so we see that there's a little bit, Joachim, so maybe we can make some, inferences from here that they project to borrow 890 billion shillings domestically in 2026, 2027. The revised estimates puts net domestic borrowing at about 890.4 billion for 2026-2027. Later, Treasury and budget policy revisions increased the projection to around 1 trillion, which is about 4.8% of the GDP. Parliamentary Debt Committee reports also referenced on implied domestic borrowing requirement of about 1 trillion shillings, 2026-2027. So looking at the 1.1 trillion, it would seem as though only 100 billion would be debt that is borrowed externally, which we already know is the cheaper option. Domestic debt is significantly more expensive than external debt, but that of the debt burden that there will be in this budget of 1.1 trillion, 1 trillion of that is going to come from the domestic more expensive debt.
And even what's the effect of now the government looking inwards to borrow? It has a crowding out effect, so that anywhere it's only government that has access to credit, and when they come back to borrow domestically, what are they borrowing? Whose money are they taking? Where are they borrowing from? They're going to the banks. Whose money is in the banks? It's our savings. So they are going to borrow our savings, which shall be paid by our taxes. So, and that's why we are saying that when government keeps on borrowing internally, it's going to hurt our economy more and more and more.
And why is that? Because we know that if we look at how economies have been built around the globe, it's the private sector that is an economic driver, right? So that means what you do is that when we talk about all this nice talk about how the government has to make a conducive environment for business to grow, that's the conducive environment that we're talking about. Access to credit, making sure that ease of doing business is an actual reality. But it's the MSMEs, that's why that attention is there, that actually build the economy. Some of the global giants that we speak of today, they are private companies who may have some government share at some point because of how they have grown, but they're essentially private companies that started in somebody's garage, or that somebody was decided, well, let me see if I can manufacture a vehicle. So government would be then supporting the economy. So if you crowd out funding that goes to government, what are you doing to the credit that should be available for these MSMEs that we talk about, who should naturally then be able to go to local banks to get credit, because they can't go to Exim Bank as a guy who makes, how do you do that?
It's too late for them to do anything. When we were shouting Time Uhuru, at least there was a breathing gap. The government could do some adjustment programs to make sure that they now spur the private sector so that it becomes the driver of the economy. But it's too late for William Ruto now to do anything.
Why?
Because how much are we making and how much are we using to pay debt? So the pressure he has on paying debt pushes him further into our pockets. Now, when they come for our income and they tax everything and they realize it's not enough, they now begin making haircuts on our profits in our businesses. That's why they are trying to introduce how they are going to get something out of the transaction costs Safaricom has whenever we do any transaction. So this one, when they started borrowing heavily in Uhuru Kenyatta's regime, that's the time they could have rectified things. Right now, anyone in this government is not in position to do any corrective measures. It's not that they don't know these things. They know. But they are part of the mess. So trying to rectify the mess is to uncover the tracks they have spent years covering. So if we say President Ruto to deal with the issue of debt, he's incapable of doing it. because it means that he has to go back from 2014. Yesterday, was it yesterday? The day before yesterday, I saw Aaron Cheruyot responding to President Uhuru after he was seen, after he spoke in the delegates meeting of Jubilee. Mm-hmm. And Aaron Cheruyot hinted that he's convinced to believe that the Auditor General's report of 2015 saying that the first Eurobond did not, half of it did not come to Kenya, could be true. But what Cheruyot was forgetting is that his own boss, President Ruto, vehemently defended that Eurobond. And he said, any imagination that it was lost is nonsense. Mm-hmm. So in his attack to Uhuru Kenyatta, he was forgetting that he was also throwing jabs to his own boss. So that's where the rain started beating us. Mm. Today they cannot...
Yet, Joachim, we find ourselves every year with the finance bill that then informs taxes that would be put in place to help raise funds to pretty much move the country forward. And in this finance bill 2026, many say it is not monetary friendly because of the additional taxes. Say in the digital economy, there's tax that has been added there. You talk about EV market as well, because that was meant to make it easier for the country to move. There's tax that is there as well on solar panels.
Yes.
You talk about mobile money, digital taxes, income tax adjustments, energy transport. And many say the country that we find ourselves in today, our problem is not on revenue, it is on expenditure. And in the finance bill, we're not saying any adjustments in the expenditure side to say that we know that we are in the red, we are raising taxes, but we are also cutting XYZ to make us retain more to spend within the country for development and all that. So from where you sit, can Wananchi today say this is pro us?
In this budget,
pro Mwananchi in any way? Because at the end of the day, the people who will be implementing whenever it becomes an act of parliament is Mwananchi.
When this budget making is made, the last person on their mind is Mwananchi. That's why when William Ruto reduced the other day fuel by 10 shillings, you saw IMF making noise. Saying that if he continues doing that, he's distorting market prices, and then he's most likely to default on the maturing loans before the end of June. So this budget is not made in the best interest of us as Kenyans. If it used to happen like that, I think it's a few years ago. Today, it's trying to milk anything out of us as people to cover the obligations they have on the table. So it's upon us as the people to look at these documents and decide that the only thing that is pro us is a rejection of these proposals so that we can come up with other ones. Otherwise, when we let them to decide for us, we are cooked. Because it's not in our interest. Why they are sitting. It's in the best interest of how do we, and actually the reason why we talk about debt every day is because it's the biggest issue we have. Before 30th June, the government needs 800 billion to pay debt. In our own revenue, we cannot raise more than 500. So why do they need 300 billion? That's why they have come for diesel. If they are not going to get that 300 billion, they will securitize what they have, which means they will use it as security to obtain a bigger loan.
Collateral for more money.
Yes, to pay this one, which means we are even robbing Paul to pay Peter. It's no longer borrowing from Paul to pay Peter.
You're robbing him.
Yeah, we rob him. So if we continue like this, we are going to a grinding halt.
So what does a hard stop look like when the coach says, okay, guys, time out, stop it, you're doing a total mess here, and then you call the team to the huddle? What's being said in that huddle that needs to happen in order for things to turn around. You said it's too late. There's nothing that William Ruto can do.
Yeah, for them.
But then there must be something if you're spiraling out of control in the way in which you look at it, because no matter how thin you slice it, the truth of the matter is that even if there are two sides to this thing, you cannot operate optimally with the kind of debt that Kenya has and the obligations that it has to pay. So what do you do?
It's now not on them. It's on us. For them, out of the money they have looted from these borrowing things, they have constructed their safety boats. In the case of total collapse, they can jump on their safety boats and rush to some safe havens. It's now on us as the people to come up with other ways of correction to this mess. And the only chance we have is 2027. We messed with that one, we will have ourselves to blame. Because we will have to look among the people who want to lead government differently, who has the capacity to deal with this issue of debt. Because it doesn't matter who sits on that chair. The first thing they are going to face, it's not anything else. It's the books from Treasury.
So how do you fix it?
Yes.
And I think this is the thing, that even if you propel yourself into the future, how do you fix this problem? Because let's look at the problem, right?
Yeah.
You have 100 shillings right now, give or take 70 of that goes to debt. You've got 30% left. You've got 30 shillings left. Recurrent expenditure gobbles up quite a chunk of that. And then you've got, development, all of these things to be done. So it's not that it's not enough. I mean, it's a blip on the reality that is not even there. You can't even sniff it. What is left for you to then be able to run the country if you're spending more than 50% of your revenue on debt repayment? Those are the problems. So who and how do you come in to fix this thing?
You look at that one item that is taking more than 80% of what we produce.
Debt, you owe it, you have to pay it.
No. You now interrogate that debt. Why is it always going up? Even as we are being told we are paying. Why do we end up with bigger numbers even as we pay? So, according to us, a very huge chunk of the debt we are paying is illegal. It was not obtained. I remember I told you, like, this budget that was tabled before Parliament, it has no domestic debt estimates. So any debt that shall be borrowed next year will be illegal, which means it's not on us to pay it. So that's where you say, no, we have to audit the debt that we have and see what is legal for us to pay and what's illegal for us not to pay. So if we are not going to face it that radically, there is no other way for us. If anyone else has any other way, then they let them come and tell us.
I mean, Joachim, when you look at the finance bill right now, the way it's been tabled, we know it'll be tabled on the floor of the House for discussions and further amendments into the same. Are you saying that the current parliament, as currently constituted, does not have the temerity to look deeper into that finance bill and make the necessary changes that would turn that finance bill to make sense to Mungai, to businesses? Because manufacturers in the country have warned that if the finance bill is passed as is, they will have to restructure because cost of doing business will be high. It will not only result to unemployment, but it will make cost of living in the country to be high. My question again is, can the parliament, can or can't it, or is it unable to deal with this finance bill and make the necessary changes before it becomes an act of parliament?
Pick any member of parliament that comes first on your head.
That didn't take too long, okay.
Yeah.
Can they really withstand this? What's their interest in these documents we are talking about? If it's a budget, a member of parliament is only concerned about, does it have CDF? Is my CDF there? The rest is for you to make noise about it. you see members of parliament speak in parliament, in the public spaces, and they are paying, how do we call it, loyalty to the president. They are not there to serve us. Ideally, they should, but they are not. Which means that anything that comes from the executive is yes and amen for them. So, someone like my friend Dinyoro, who is telling us options of reducing taxation, he forgets that the reason why government needs that money is because of the debt it has. Some of the debts were passed when he was budget chair. So these illegalities, some of them were passed when he was a chair of the budget committee. So, for example, if the government reduces the taxes that he proposed to reduce, that's why, what's his name? Junet Mohammed said that, how do we pay this debt? You see, it's not about any other expenditure. Junet was very categorical. When we reduce those taxes, tell us what is the alternative for us to raise money to pay the debt. And he accused him that some of the debts they are paying, they were taken when he was chair of budget committee, and he was defending the government for borrowing. So today, when he proposes relief for us, the question then goes to him, how do we pay the debt? So it doesn't matter which formula we have. Like the other yesterday, I saw my good friend Atwoli saying that people earning below 60,000 should be given tax relief. To me, it's a genuine proposal, and I would actually wish that it's effected, because most of the people are below that bracket.
Yeah.
But again, those are the targets. Those people below that who are earning small money are the ones the government is targeting to raise one more coin to pay the debt. So, however genuine it is, I am afraid it's not going to happen. You saw the issue of fuel. It's better for the president to come up with another promise and say, I will reduce next month. Let us first deal with your insurance issues. Lakini bei ya mafuta kwanza wachana nayo. It's because he's looking for an extra coin to pay debt. I wonder, you see, if I was President Ruto, I would not vie for a second term. Because it's a disaster. I don't know why.
But could you say that if the interest was for the people?
If the interest was for the people, then
go ahead and vie. But in this case, what you're saying, it's clear that there is no interest to then be able to secure the livelihoods of Kenyans. So
no. It's not about us. Whatever they are doing is not about us. They are asking us, how do we help more? So they are coming back and ask, what is left from you? They are not looking at how you earn more. No. What are you left with?
That you can take.
Yes. Because if they are coming on, they are looking at how they can get money from cryptocurrency. They are telling us there is nothing private about financial records. I think financial records, everyone guards their finance
jealously.
Record, very jealously. Yeah. So how do you tell me that you are going to assume that 60% of the profit I've made from my business
should be given to you
is dividends to other people, so I have to declare. And failure to declare it, you charge me 1 million. I mean,
Joachim, we talk about debt that the country finds itself in. It's 12 trillion, almost 13 trillion, and that is expected to rise because, like many say, if you have a deficit, that is already debt accumulated because you have to borrow. Now, with the maturing loans that we do have at the moment, can the government renegotiate, and should that as well be included in the finance bill on some of the strategies the government is putting in place with regard to the debt that is there? And will that then would that make it easier for Wananchi in the long run?
So for how long do you renegotiate? Because they are maturing this month.
Yeah.
They will mature next month, and the next month, and the other one. So do you keep on renegotiating? and you realize that the lenders are the same people. So you renegotiated for the month of June. July you want to renegotiate. To what end? You see, that's why we are saying there needs to be a radical approach. Are these debts even legal before we even talk about renegotiating? Are we supposed to pay?
And Joachim, what stops the government of Kenya from coming out and telling Wananchi there has been conversation around odious debt and the legality of the debt that we do have? There has been calls that pushes for forensic audit by the Auditor General to tell the country where we stand with regard to the debt. Why is it that the government does not want to come out clean with regard to that debt? What would that do to the credibility of the government of the day?
Look at the people in government. And where do they come from? They didn't just show up. They've been with us for quite some time. I remember at one time the Auditor General saying that the problem she's facing is limited information access. So she cannot actually come up with a credible opinion on the budget, on the numbers provided. That they are not providing information to her. So it's actually difficult for her to do any audit because the books are not available. And again, who are the people that are supposed to provide those books? Are they culpable in this whole story? Because when we look at today, the Minister for Treasury, John Mbadi, is part of the genesis of the whole problem. When Aden Duale brought an amendment bill on the Public Finance Management Act in 2014, who seconded that motion?
John Mbadi.
John Mbadi. What was the amendment bill about? To bypass the consolidated fund.
Yes.
That any money borrowed from outside the country
Didn't have to pass
through the consolidated fund. So if we are talking about now making it work, who do we go to? The CS for Treasury. Is he willing to engage in that conversation?
Unfortunately.
No. Who is the governor for CBK? Kamau Thuge. Who was Kamau Thuge at the time we were amending the bill? He was PS for Finance. So he's part of the problem. The Accountant General of Government at that time was called Bernard Dungu. He still works at Treasury. The people who defended that decision in every media house is now president. So when we say that government can actually deal with this issue, who is government? If not those people I've mentioned.
So because then you're going to have to ask the difficult question,
Yes.
will I want to then interrogate or investigate myself?
Yes.
Because if somebody is asking me if this debt makes... Okay, so let's split this question. Because how then do you then, suggest to investigate yourself? And we've already established that that's quite difficult. But then how do we find out if debt is actually authentic, if we can use that word? Because we know the two instances under which Kenya can borrow. I mean, we say this over and over until we're blue in the face.
Yes.
We know what constitutionally has been set out as conditions under which Kenya can borrow. Now, if you have 13 trillion shilling debts over 15 years, okay? Give or take about $1 trillion a year. That's what it looks like. And we know that some of that goes towards interest. However, the case in which you can borrow budget-wise is if you have a short-term budget deficit, 90 days maximum. It doesn't go to 13 trillion. So it's for development. Would it be too naive to say that if you look around the country and you're not able to pinpoint projects that match with the lines in the development book about where this money was supposed to go, does that suffice to say then that this debt is odious? If we have established what the law says, if we have established that money came in form of debt that was attached directly to this project, because that's how it's supposed to be done. If we cannot see the physical manifestation of this project for which this money has been tagged to this line, does that suffice to say then that this debt is odious?
Yes, it was borrowed against the law. Let me give you the latest example of a borrowing that was not used for the intended purpose. In December last year, as we were preparing for transition of grade 10 learners.
Yes.
So the government goes and borrows 27.8 billion so that it comes and helps us to do transition.
From whom?
From World Bank.
Okay.
So they borrow 27.8. So the purpose for this money is to make sure that no child pays to transition.
Yes.
That no parent incurs a cost. And some of it was supposed to be used to prepare teachers and buy facilities that are necessary for transition.
Teacher training.
Yes.
Yes.
That money was borrowed and it came. Did you see any parent not paying for the transition of their children? No. Every parent paid. The least my mother used to was calling me for my last born brother. They needed 45,000 for his transition. So why did we borrow the 27? What was it used for? Because it's on that purpose that we are going to pay for it. So they borrowed it for our best interest. They used it for theirs, but it's us to pay. You know, if that's not an example of an odious debt, then tell me what is. Because odious is illegal.
And Joaquin, based off that the government knows very well that it borrowed and never used that money for the intended purpose. Whether you talk about Eurobond way back in 2014, you talk about the debt that you just talked about from World Bank. The government is unwilling or cannot, first of all, publish the debt register so that Kenyans can interrogate it, and is unwilling to give this information to the Auditor General to look at the books and give a report of that because they know they will be caught pants down. So therefore, even as we speak right now, the government then is participating in an illegality because the Constitution gives that mandate, gives all the right to the Auditor General to look at the books. That means everything else, every finance bill that has followed and every debt that is borrowed that the Auditor General cannot look at is an illegality.
Yes, it's a whole illegal system. Which means when we say in Safina that we have to forgive water, we know what we are saying. There is no hope for us here. That's why we are asking, when you shout 1 term and 2 term, then what? When you say 2 term, at least 2 term, we know they are then what? They are then what's more pain. They will keep coming for what is left of us. So that's why we are asking our colleagues in opposition, then what? What are we about? How different? How do we deal with this monster? It doesn't matter who you are, what you are doing, whether you are voted in office or not, because my least worries nowadays is if we can defeat President Ruto, because that's guarantee. We are going to defeat him. But what do we tell the people after that? Because you sit on that chair the first day, friends from IMF come to brief you on what you owe them. The friends from Treasury come to brief the president on the financial situation of the country. Before you even finish the first month in office, you've borrowed illegally to pay salaries.
Yeah.
So how different are you going to be from these ones? That's why we need boldness. That's why every Kenyan should join Safina. That's where their salvation is.
Because what we're talking about when you talk radically here, I always liken it to a disease that you need to cut out. You're not having a conversation with this thing because it is eating you alive. That they say in order for us to get on a path to treatment, you need to cut out the cancer. You don't have a conversation with it.
Yes, there's no conversation.
So we talk about radical surgery that's needed when you look at the fiscal space in which Kenya currently operates. That there is an expenditure problem, there is an illegality, unconstitutional issue that Kenya is dealing with. It doesn't matter what political side anybody is on, but that some of these things are glaringly obvious. and that it is in the books, it's on paper, there's a trail. So it doesn't matter where you are politically, that there is a problem. And the only way to then solve it is to be radical. But the question is, I mean, I think you've already tried to give us a bit of that answer, is that who bells the cat? Who says, okay, you know what? I have no friends here. In order to save the country and its people, there's certain things that must be done. And it's not a question of can we, shall we do it? Who is the one to do that? Is that akin to the question where you say, if it's one term, then what? If it's two term, then what? But something needs to be done.
Yes. And we are saying what needs to be done. And we are the only people with the boldness to do it. If there is anyone else who is talking about this issue with the boldness it deserves, then you can tell us. But I can say the only person who has no embedment on this issue, who can deal with it the way it's needed to be dealt with, is my party leader. It's Jimmy Wanjigi. That's why the government rarely responds to what he says. Because how do you respond to numbers? You have to come with your own version of it. And they don't have it. So when we say that this number of this year alone, in the next financial year, how much are we going to pay debt? When we say 2.4 trillion, how much are we going to raise in terms of taxes? 2.6. We are left with 200 billion. 200 billion cannot pay salaries for 3 months. So how do we make sure that operation and management is catered for? That's where the next president, if it's not Jimmy, will borrow illegally. Because operations and management will need 600 billion.
Oh, God.
Joachim, and you see, the logical thing to do is don't pay odious debt.
Yes.
Don't pay odious debt.
Don't pay.
But with that conversation, then many have said that they always angry guy, as Nduh loves saying, Moody, will come and categorize Kenya and say, this is a country that has defaulted. Our ranking globally will be low. Not be seen in a good way. Is that a scare tactic?
Yeah, it's a scare tactic because we have not defaulted. We have shown everyone why we should not pay, why we don't owe them. It's different from defaulting. Defaulting is what you legally owe and you've not paid. So we have said that who borrowed, it's not even in our books. Like, for example, the example I gave you. If in our budget items, we do not have estimates of domestic debt and you end up borrowing, so is it our debt? It's not. So if these banks, and they should pay attention because one day they will have to answer these questions. When they lend to government, do we have a vote head on it approved by parliament? If it's not, there will come a time when Kenyans will say we are not paying. Our pain and our source of pain is debt. Whether it's lack of capitation, whether it's missing drugs, with anything, say it. They have now introduced other tax cuts on coffee and tea. They will come and introduce something called National Infrastructure Levy. So they are coming with other terms. They are avoiding the word tax because we don't want that. Now they are coming with other terms called levies. If we do not approach this issue, because when my party leader first talked about it, he was the only person talking about it. Today, how do government defend themselves? Even when you pressure John Badi, why do we need more taxes? The word debt shall appear somewhere. When you listen to Parliament, and the other day I was very shocked that when the question about fuel was on the floor of the House, it was almost empty.
Of course.
Almost empty because they were not discussing their issues. They were not discussing we are in 2 term and you are in 1 term. No, they were discussing issues to do with the well-being of the mwananchi. And that's why the benches in Parliament were empty. So, Kenyans can listen to us and see the only salvation they have is Safina Party. And I welcome them to register and join the ARC because the floods are already here. The floods are already here.
Far be it from you not to use that analogy for us to understand where we are. Joachim is not mincing his words this morning, but he's saying something needs to be done and we're the ones to do it. Well, thank you for being here this morning.
Thank you very much.
I look forward to more conversations with you, but
yes,
we're looking at the way in which the situation is going, and we must talk.
There will come a time when talking will no longer be enough.
It's doing.
It's doing.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Joachim Simi is the Secretary General of the Safina Party. Has been here with us this morning. More conversations continue at 8:01.
The latest news from around the world. 94.4 Spice FM.
Good morning. This is the Newswire. I'm Leah Ubaga. Rescue operations are still ongoing at Utumishi Girls Academy in Gilgil, Nakuru County, following a dormitory fire that claimed the lives of at least 10 students. The fire broke out at around 2 a.m., leaving several other students injured, some with serious burn wounds. Rift Valley Regional Police Commander Samuel Ndanyi confirmed the incident, saying emergency teams are continuing with search and rescue efforts as investigations into the cause of the fire begin. Kenya Red Cross and Kenya Defence Force officers have been deployed to assist in the response, while police have cordoned off sections of the school. Affected students were rushed to various hospitals for treatment, although authorities are yet to confirm the total number of those injured. Meanwhile, some parents have arrived at the school, and here is one of them.
Kuna watoto ambao wamechomekea hapa na wameaga, na pia kuna wengine walipelekwa kule hospitalini St. Joseph, na tunashukuru kwa sababu ya wale walioshughulika sana, watu wa Red Cross, kuwapeleka wale waliopata majeraha. Nimekuwa pale St. Joseph na nimeona watoto wametibiwa na wameshughulikiwa, na hata wengine wamerudishwa hapa. So ni kuendelea tu kungojea the official report, na tuendelee kuomba kwa sababu ya wale wazazi wamepoteza watoto na pia wale watoto ambao wameumia. Tuendelee kuomba kwamba Mungu atawapa amani na atawatenda mema.
Kiharu MP Ndindi Nyoro has faced a tough time defending his proposals to reduce fuel prices in Parliament after facing strong opposition from fellow MPs and the government leadership. The debate in the National Assembly has raised significant divisions, with leaders questioning the feasibility of implementing his financial proposals and subsidy measures. Nyoro is proposing the removal of the 8% VAT on fuel products by moving them to the first schedule of the VAT Act, a move he says could reduce prices by about 54 shillings per litre. He's also proposing a reduction in the road maintenance fund levy by 7 shillings, from 25 shillings to 18 shillings per litre of fuel.
The amount of money, because I've calculated that will be required in terms of injections, either through subsidies or through the forfeiture of revenue, I thought it is a fair price to pay, other than the humongous price the economy may pay in the future. Because the parameters don't increase at the same margin that fuel increases. You can deal with the landing cost, even if you are a non-oil producing country. And you can deal with the landing cost based on where are you sourcing the oil and which model are you using to source the oil. That is why if you look at the landing cost of the Kenyan fuel, it is higher than the other regional economies.
However, the proposals have been strongly opposed by both majority and minority leaders in Parliament, saying they could affect the implementation of key government activities. Treasury CS John Badi and Deputy President Kithure Kindiki have warned that removing some fuel taxes could jeopardize funding for road repairs and other basic services for citizens.
In the Kenyan scenario, Chairman, and this is the most unfortunate part, we speak from both sides.
Could you be having other motives that you are targeting that infrastructure fund so that the government is not able to deliver on its infrastructure?
These innovative ideas, why didn't you use them when you are the chairman and bring them up when you are the chairman at that time when it was 16%?
That time, we have had a summer in terms of fuel prices globally, averaging $60 per barrel. Now we are talking about, today it was $90 per barrel.
That's the Newswire. I'm Leah Ubaga.
.5 Spice FM, Kisumu.
In this country, 6 families and 8,000 Kenyans control 90% of the GDP. We are not a country. We are a plantation. We work for Ruto.
When you're telling the judges court orders are papers or they will not obey court orders, they're sitting and you're seeking orders from them. So how are they supposed to interpret it? Isn't it an oxymoron?
When you see a judiciary that seems to be under some control somewhere, you start questioning. We have very powerful governors, but they don't use their offices to serve the people.
If you are not shameful to do what you are doing, why should we protect you?
I'm human. Everybody's human. So when you're told, kuja tuongee, I mean, you'd be a fool to say, staki kuongea today. Conversations have to be had, you know?
People in leadership should only go into leadership if they are ready and willing to change the lot of the people.
The Situation Room, Kenya's biggest conversation.
One of the things that are ailing our country is negative ethnicity. You find you as a state officer, instead of thinking as a Kenyan, you think like a tribal person.
Let me tell you something. The biggest problem we have had in this country is a leadership deficit. There is nothing that you are going to do in the process of change if you are not a risk taker. So you really have to pursue your vision to a logical conclusion and even be ready to step on people's toes.
When it comes to the economy, you can run away with it. They say statistics are like bikinis. They reveal a lot, but they conceal the vitals. And so government people would throw statistics at you and tell you they're revealing a lot of information to you, but it's really concealing the real vitals.
We need to get out of that, because when we want to grow our democracy, one basic thing that really requires to be understood by the political class, by all of us, is institutions are critical.
This is the Situation Room, the only way to start your day.
The following takes place from 6 a.m. to 10 a.m. every weekday on Spice FM.
Parliament has got powers. Let me break it down. The National Assembly can initiate an impeachment of the president.
This same National Assembly.
Yes.
That's our constitution.
This is just a continuation of the previous administration, which Ruto was part of. President Uhuru himself openly said that we're losing 2 billion daily. Daily. I mean, come on. Are you saying that we don't have a central bank?
If we look at Kenya, both public-private sector, that figure is ranging between 30 to 40%, right?
I think it's clear that the government of Kenya is living beyond its means.
This is the Situation Room, the only way to start your day. Mature, intelligent talk every morning. Spice up yourself. Mornings done right. 94.4 Spice FM, Nairobi.
We're getting into it. It's 10 minutes after 8 o'clock and into the third hour of our conversations this morning in the Situation Room. Where are you taking us?
Nduh. You know, every time you wake up to grind, the grind and the hustle never stops.
Nope.
You wake up because you at the end of the day, you have bills to pay. You have school fees as well that is waiting you. You want to enjoy yourself, you know. But have you ever asked yourself, what happens to all that if you're not here?
Boy.
When the mighty God decides, come and stay with me. It is a conversation that many of us must have today. And that is why Britam Whole Life is coming in and telling you that we have a solution. We want to walk with you through this, because it is not a question of if, but when. And that when, it is not for you to decide.
Okay.
So what are they coming with? They're coming in so that you're able to protect your loved ones in the event that you're not there. So the plan that they're coming with will provide you with lifetime coverage once you complete your chosen payment, period between 10, 15, and 20 years. So you come in with a plan, you want to do 10 million, 15 million, 20 million, 100 million.
I can choose.
And you can choose, and you pay it pole within. You can pay it maramoja, or you can pay it pole within that period. And once it matures, you get to have interest of 3% for the rest of your life. You know, despite inflation, despite anything that would change, you get your 3%.
I love it.
So because true wealth is not just what you build, it is the legacy that you leave behind. You know, you will come up with a good business that gives you good money, but that's not it. It's what you leave for your loved ones when you're not here. So for you to get this, SMS Life and your name of your town to 21778. 21778. You send your name and the name of your town, and also call or WhatsApp on 0705 100 100 to get into this plan. Now, ujipange for the few, the kind of legacy that you're leaving today, because Britam is telling you it is not about if, but when.
Okay. I've taken heed, and we'll see if in a short while I've been able to understand what you've said.
Kabisa.
Okay, fantastic. All right. We're again looking into Game Plan 2027. Former Njeri Town MP is here with us, and Gujiri Wabogo is here. Good morning.
Good morning.
How are you doing?
I can't complain.
You can't?
I can't complain.
Okay. That's a good thing.
Yes.
It's a good place to be.
Yes.
I
you
would
can choose
imagine.
to complain, but I choose not to complain. So, yeah.
Well, I mean, it's good to have you here, Njeri. And
good to be here. Thank you.
You know, a lot has happened, or a lot continues to happen in the conversations that, or rather, in the happenings in the country. And the conversations spur from that, and then get people to understand, okay, so this is the direction in which we should be going. And then there's been a lot of vitriol, unfortunately. And things that you thought would die down don't.
Yes.
And I can make that connection between a rumbling that has been heard, perhaps in a school, and it was not handled. And we wake up on a Thursday morning and 10 girls are dead.
Yes. Thoughts and prayers are with Utumishi girls at this moment. Yeah.
That perhaps something would have been done about a dissatisfaction, or something that could have been spoken about, and that particular fire would have been quelled. But it didn't. And if we can draw parallels between that and what's currently happening in the political space, where there are tribal slurs that are taking place on ethnicity. But before we get into all of that, today's proverb comes from the Gambia.
Yes.
And Dennis will share that with you. I'd love to get your interpretation.
And the proverb says, a disobedient fowl obeys in a pot of soup.
A disobedient what?
Fowl.
Okay.
Obeys in a pot of soup.
Essentially, what I understand that to mean is that a fowl can actually be disobedient out there. Once it's put in a bowl of soup, it has to fit into that.
Yeah.
It's already in a space. I mean, it's food. It just does whatever it's. So you could have a moment when you're out there and you can be disobedient, but when you get put into a particular space, you have to flow with whatever is happening.
Exactly.
Well said.
I understand it. Yes.
Indeed. So, just getting into the weekend, we heard what we heard. And a lot of folks are saying, well, you know what, don't talk about it too much. Just let it go. It was said, there was an apology that was rendered. Just leave it alone. We don't have to deal with it. It's been put out, let it go. And if I'm going to draw the parallels that I'm drawing, it's the same thing here. Like, okay, maybe people made noise in school on a Thursday evening, and then there was some uproar, but, you know, snuff it out and let it go. On this particular one, folks not seem to be letting it go. The members of parliament came out yesterday and said, if the person who said this thing does not resign or is not put out from a particular party, then we will leave the party. And it's continued to escalate. So what are we dealing with here? Is there an aversion to this ethnic tribal slur, or is it politics playing out? Is there an issue with ethnicity and tribalism in this political arena?
Okay, thank you. First, let me say my thoughts and prayers with the parents and children and the families affected in Utumishi. in that fire. I mean, it's as a parent, I can try just try and imagine you've got a child in that school, what's going on right now. And I pray we are not going to find that something that could have been avoided. It would be very sad if it's something that could have been avoided that wasn't and led to this. But then the connection and, of course, the correlation with what you've tried to bring it and say maybe there's something that had been flagged that wasn't done and then led to this. And now today we are all sad and mourning. But then you look back and, Africans, we don't like doing those things. When you have an accident and maybe your car was in a bad state, nobody wants you to say that maybe your car was in a bad state. We want to say it was an act of God. And so when you look at the politics of the moment, first, these are actually politicians behaving badly. I was somewhere else and I said it's politicians having verbal diarrhea, bad manners. Kapsa?
Yeah.
And when you get to a situation where you say what Hassan said and then the reactions come the way they are coming, first, of course, there's opportunistic reactions. These opportunistic reactions. There are people who have taken this as an opportunity. Of course, with the by-elections in Olkalau, there's one side of the political divide that has seen this as fodder that they can use to hammer the other side. So the opposition is escalating this conversation so that they can use it to show how these are really bad people. Then, of course, within government, there are people who want to run away from this and make sure it doesn't stick to them, especially the Mount Kenya government, the people from Mount Kenya who are in government. And that's how you now start hearing the kind of threats and what do you call them? Deadlines being given that if you don't get out,
48
we
hours.
are leaving. Also because this is something very difficult to sell in Mount Kenya, that you're working with a guy who said what he said. But then there's also a much deeper conversation we need to be having. It's said that from the heart, the mouth speaks, right? There was no provocation to that conversation. So there's somewhere it came from. And I think that's now what we need to have a conversation about. Was this an isolated case, or is this a thought? I mean, there are people who are clapping. So yes, we can tell the person who said it to say sorry, but there are people who engaged with his thought and found it to be attractive.
Yes.
And to be something, because you say he didn't apologize then. Nobody stopped him at that moment. He apologized later when there was a backlash from somewhere else. So where he was speaking at, and within the within the environment he was speaking, the people he was speaking to, people around him, those they didn't see it as bad as we saw it later. So what does that mean? I have heard him try to explain. In fact, his apology wasn't really an apology; it was an explanation. The way you say something, and then people tell you, that came out bad. You say, no, that's not what I meant. This is what I meant. So it's really not an apology. It was the sense of, this is what I meant. But in case you misunderstood me, I am sorry.
But he also went out yesterday, additionally, and said, well, I was referring to one person.
Exactly.
He came out and said very clearly, this is the person that I was referring to. But again, I'm just saying sorry in case,
yes, that's
any
what I'm
of
saying.
this fell
It was
on
a
anybody
clarification.
else.
It wasn't an apology. It's that I meant those bad things you think I said, I didn't say them about you. I said them about her.
Yeah.
It's like it is okay to say certain bad things about a particular person. But not about another person. And the problem is that once you say it, you can't choose how I interpret it. You said it. My interpretation is mine.
True.
You might have meant to talk about Uhuru, for example, but me, I chose to interpret it to mean anybody like Uhuru. Anybody who has property, anybody who has land. So why would you say it? As a leader, why would you open that door? Because now closing it has become very difficult.
Do you think he was speaking for himself?
Hassan comes from the coastal area, and the issue of land is a highly emotive political conversation. And I think because it's still a story that he might be running for office in 2027, he was picking a hot potato or hot potato issue in the region and using it as ammunition and throwing it first before anybody else.
But he's not stupid. He's not stupid. This is a lawyer. This is the man who's worked with Kenya National Human Rights Commission. He's been a senator. He's very intelligent.
He knew exactly
He must have
what
known
he was
exactly
doing.
what he was doing. And then to come and apologize for it later, then you want to ask a couple of questions.
He knew exactly what he was doing.
That's
And he
what I'm
also knew
asking,
that
was
once
he
you throw it
speaking for
out,
himself?
an apology doesn't take it away.
Yeah.
Words said cannot be unsaid. You can apologize, you can explain, you will never be able to pull back those words. And you see the words had the reaction it was required. You had Uhuru on Monday responding to it, and maybe that was the idea. Put him in a place where you put him in the defense, and now he has to come out, because I don't know whether Uhuru would have come out if that comment had not been made. Because it was a multi-level attack. As you said, there's a community that feels that it was attacked, which is Mount Kenya region, which I come from. And it's a dangerous thing for us to hear that kind of conversation, because we know, and as Uhuru said, we know where this goes. But then there's also Uhuru himself, who has interests in what it is that was being said, and who must have felt now threatened, especially coming from somebody in a government that doesn't think is friendly to him. So he must have been wondering, okay, where are you guys going with this?
Yeah.
Yes.
Njeri, I want to look at it because we can't say that Hassan didn't know what he was saying. He knew exactly what he was
That's
saying.
why I said that was not an apology.
And we've
it was an
seen,
explanation.
and you've seen others, you call them opportunistic reactionists, let me call them that, right? But we are not seeing opportunistic reactions from agencies that are mandated to deal with this. Why? You talk about NCIC. UDA as a party in terms of reprimanding its own, and calling him out as a party. You talk about DCI, nothing from these agencies. And from where Kenyans sit, they're looking at it as this person belongs to a party that has formed a government, and all the other government agencies that is being led by them are silent. So the government knows exactly what was said, the reason why they are silent. Are Kenyans right in thinking that way?
I think, first, give credit where it's due. I saw something by NCSC. Okay. We can't say it hasn't done something. We saw something by NCSC. But when we say Hassan is not a fool, the explanation he's giving is removing him from a crime to bad manners. You see, according to the law, when you attack a community, you've committed a crime. When you attack an individual, you haven't. When I say you're a bad person, you're a thief, you can choose to sue me, but this is now between me and you. So it's no longer a crime.
You can
DCI can't come in and investigate me, NCIC, because I said, I don't like so-and-so, and I said it. And there's nothing in the law that says I have to like him. So his explanation is actually moving back. He's backpedaling from a situation where we would be saying you attacked a community. That's why he keeps saying I did not attack a community, because attacking a community is breaking the law.
Yeah,
that one you can be sued, you can be arrested. It's hate speech. So he's moving back from that one, and you see he's been very consistent. I didn't attack a community. I attacked an individual. So that's now this is a smartness and the legal background and the understanding he has that if I stay within this space, there's nothing you guys can do to me. You might hate me, but I'm also being popular in my place. Because my language, what I'm saying, I always remember a gentleman called Basil Criticus who spent a long time battling that land issue. Again, politics started up as politics. And then it ended up being a whole big problem that he spent, 20-25 years trying to solve. So that, I think, is a game that Hassan was playing here. But then also, I think he was just trying to make his bosses happy. And because remember, there's been a very major outcry within government about Uhuru.
Yeah.
So you find a low-hanging fruit. Uhuru is a large landowner in Mombasa. We have historical issues in Mombasa, and you just zero it in and you say, it's you.
Okay, so if that elicited the response that it did, and that we saw that there was a lot of upsetness that took place as a result of that, can you then equate it to there being an ethnic tribal issue in the country, or were people just upset because you're going to come at me? What was it? Can it be that somebody needed to be apologized to and then we, pat down our clothes and keep it moving? Or is there a deeper issue here that, look, because the thing about conversation is that we must be honest. That is there an issue that the people of Central Kenya have when somebody comes at them based on what they do or how they are in the political sphere? The 10 members of parliament who came out yesterday said very clearly, if he's not removed,
we are moving.
We are moving. We are leaving this party. Now, does it speak to that an individual was attacked, or does it speak to their entire community was attacked, feels that they were attacked and we cannot have this? If that's the case, are they different from anybody else?
First, let's first finish with the issue of the apology. Hassan didn't apologize to Uhuru. He's actually been very clear. I'm not apologizing to this guy. This is the guy I was attacking. What I'm apologizing is to those people who think
they were hurt.
I attacked other people beyond him. So that's the first thing. Now, and earlier I said that what you say, you can't tell me how to interpret it. Because once you attacked Uhuru, and we still see Uhuru as our political leader as Mount Kenya at this moment in time, then we feel as if you've attacked us. Then you have a history, which Uhuru alluded to on Monday, of 2007. And he made a very interesting statement. He said, 2007 did not just happen. 2007 built up over time, and it began with comments like this one. And how does that comment begin? Today you're attacking Uhuru, then tomorrow you're going to attack another big landowner in Mombasa. Then before you know it, you're attacking big landowners anywhere. And it spreads out. Now, where I think it could get tidier, you see, when Mount Kenya leaders in UDA, for example, do a press conference alone, then you have actually confirmed that it was a community that was being attacked. I would have wanted to see a bigger representation of UDA leadership from various communities, not just the Mount Kenya region, condemning what Hassan has said, because then that way we'll all be agreeing what he has said is bad for all of us.
But they did.
Beyond just, you see, these Mount Kenya people were 10 people. If I had been in parliament at that time, I would have mobilized a lot more people from outside Mount Kenya. So that our threat and our challenge to Hassan is not a regional challenge. We're challenging from a national platform. What you said was wrong. Just because you said it about Mount Kenya, or Mount Kenya feels wrong, even if tomorrow you said it about Rift Valley or about the coast, it would still be wrong. So that we stop isolating this and making it a Mount Kenya issue. Anybody who speaks the way Hassan spoke about anybody else.
Anyone,
and I have been very consistent about that in I'm sure you follow my Joffrey Chronicles, and saying, look, what Hassan has said, Gachagua has said before about other communities. He has talked about how when he's talking about the Kalenjins, he's talked about Watuha when he's talking about the Luos. Now Hassan has talked about Watu when he's talking about Mount Kenya. All of them are wrong. Let's not get upset just when it's attacked to us.
And I think that's I think the most critical point where we must come in, because I remember even there's a conversation that was held a while back when the Rironi Road was being constructed, and it was changed from being a development issue to being, when this road is going to a specific region, then people from Mount Kenya have a problem with it. But when Thika Road was being constructed, you never had a problem, because we must call bad manners in politics what it is, and stop sugarcoating it and saying you are attacking a community. It is purely bad manners, and the agencies that ought to work should just work and do their job.
And that's why Hassan is becoming complicated to go after, because we should have started this process the first time the first person attacked a community.
Yes.
So Hassan will argue, but so-and-so has been doing it and attacking Luos and Kalenjins,
and nobody said anything.
So why are you guys coming after me? And then that's why I'm saying that's what now makes it complicated, because now it becomes that Rironi Road conversation.
Yeah.
When Thika Road was made, you guys didn't make it a Mount Kenya issue. Why is Rironi Road becoming a West Kenya issue? And that's why we need to capture these things right from the start.
Yeah.
we have to nationalize our conversation, and as you said, call bad manners bad manners. The minute I create a perception that a certain community is being isolated, when we say we are all cousins, I'm going to visit my cousins,
Yes.
and make it a political conversation. What have you said? So if you're not Kamba, you're not part
in a
of the
family.
group.
If you're not a Bantu.
If you're not a Bantu.
Well, I mean, he could have said it anywhere.
Yeah. But you see, so what you've done, you've created a Bantu Nilot.
Yeah.
Again, what you say doesn't determine how I interpret it.
Yes.
You can argue, and he argued it. He said, I meant we are related, but we are all part of a bigger family, but these are closer to us. But you see, the other person who is not Kamba starts saying, but even me, I associate with your political ideology. Are you telling me I can't be part of you because I am not your cousin?
Yeah.
And that's how we need to stop personalizing our politics. So that once your politics is issue-based, then it doesn't matter that I come from a Maluo and you're Kikuyu. If we have an issue we agree on, then our ethnic background does not count. Because what the issue, if we don't agree on corruption, then we don't agree on corruption. Whether it is a Kikuyu or a Luo or a Kalenjin doing it, we should all be able to say corruption is bad. We can't say that, those guys are corrupt, naturally corrupt. We can't say that.
Njeri, when you talk about tribalism, we know where that has landed this country. Everybody in this country knows.
I was old enough to know.
Yes, we've been there. And it is also then associated more with the political class who've been pushing that agenda. That today we see the same being repeated. One asks the question, is tribalism or negative ethnicity a campaign material for the political class?
It's an easy mobilization tool. For example,
because it's emotive.
We are actually not just emotive, it's just easy.
Okay.
We're seated here. I don't know what tribe you are from. By the way, it's for real.
Yes.
I've never thought about asking what community you come from so that we can have this conversation.
Yes.
When we come to have a conversation, we talk about now we're talking about tribalism. I'm not interpreting what you're saying on the lens of where you come from. I'm just dealing with what you're saying as it is. Now, what has happened in this country, because we've been unable to hold politicians to account for what they say, they pick what they think is the easiest tool. So if you're running for office in Mount Kenya region, and majority of the people in Mount Kenya region are Kikuyu, then you make it a Kikuyu conversation. You forget that Kiambu, 30% of the people in Kiambu are not
cosmopolitan area.
Yes, are not Kikuyu. But when you go to Kiambu, you speak like everybody in Kiambu is Kikuyu. Then you go to Nakuru, and that's now what's complicating our politics. When you hear politicians saying, "Sisi watu wa Rift Valley," the politician is speaking about a community. But now, because you're trying to be careful, you don't want to say Sisi wa Kalenjin. You're saying Sisi watu ya Rift Valley. But everybody in Rift Valley is not Kalenjin. Everybody in Mount Kenya is not Kikuyu. When you say Sisi wa Pwani, you're speaking about the local traditional communities of Pwani, but you go and find 40% of coast is Kamba. You go and find another percentage is Kikuyu. So the voter, and I keep throwing this thing at voters. I remember I went to a funeral recently, and when politicians are given a microphone, now these days the priests first say, and you remember where you are. You are warned before you speak. And I challenged the congregation, and they said, you are the ones who vote for politicians. Why not vote for politicians who won't make you feel uncomfortable when you give them the mic? Because you actually have that choice. Because everybody else who speaks, I don't know whether you've been in a funeral or a social setting, a lot of people speak in those settings. Nobody is warned until you get to the politician. Now wewe tumekupatia microphone, lakini ukumbuke uko kwa kanisa. So I was asking, why don't you, as local voters, ensure that the person you vote for doesn't give you cringeworthiness when he's about to give a microphone?
And they're addressing you.
And they're addressing you, and you're the one who voted for them. So that's the same thing I want to say about now the whole idea of tribalism. It is up to us to decide that, because politicians flow with what the public wants. So if they're going along with tribalism, it means we have allowed them to do it. We keep, and I've said this on this platform many times, we want to point fingers at politicians a lot of the times. I mean, there they are, they're praying, they're doing national prayers today. We want to point fingers at politicians a lot of the times without remembering that politicians are actually representatives of us.
Yeah.
Nobody in parliament today went in through a back door.
No.
He was voted by a group of people. Change the game, and then you'll change the politicians. Decide tribalism doesn't work, you'll change the politicians. But when I say we are cousins and we all get excited, it becomes a trend that it means we love that particular kind of conversation.
All right, well, let's take a break at this point. We're talking about, this card that's often played in this game. And Njeri Mbogo is here with us this morning and trying to look at maybe how it will change, how it will be different, because it cannot be the card that is played in this game. Before we go to the breakdown, remind us that it's not when, it's if.
It's if. No, it's not if.
It's
when.
Not if, it's when.
It's when.
Yes, can't
get
because
that you'll keep asking yourself, what if? It is not what if, it's when will you? When will you go? And you see, this is the point where then you need a partner, Nduh, that will hold your hand and help you to come up with a legacy that will be able to help your loved ones when you are not there. Because you toiled hard today so that in the future, your generations to come have a settled future. So this is where now, unlike ordinary life insurance, this cover continues for life and offers covering ranging from 5 million to 100 million shillings. Now, with additional benefits like waiver of premiums in the event of retrenchment or critical illness, hence you can plan ahead with confidence. So what does that mean, Nduh? You are at work, right?
Yes.
This is the what you're using to fund these premiums that you've taken. In the event that, because life happens, you lost your job, okay, we pray that does not happen. But in the event that happens, right? In the event that happens, they tell you, we understand the difficulty. We will suspend these for a while as you plan yourself. Then you just get back on it and continue.
Good. So they can have some time away. So
exactly.
Okay.
To fix things. And now we are asking you to take the action now, because the best time for you to get on this platform was yesterday, but the next best time is now. How do you do that? You SMS with the word life and your town to 21778. You can also call or WhatsApp 0705 100 100 for more details, because Britam Life, it's not if, it's when, and time is ticking.
Absolutely. Learning stuff this morning. All right, coming back from this, and we'll continue our conversation. Don't go away.
This is the Situation Room, the only way to start your day. Traffic.
All right, the Thika Superhighway is really busy this morning inbound. I wonder why. It looks like it's going to be that way for most parts of today. There's quite some traffic also coming off of Kiambu Road today, and it's trying to join on to the Thika Superhighway, then heading its way into the city and right around the Pangani underpass, quite some as well. It's very busy coming off of Limuru Road today, coming past United Nations Avenue, and then traffic that gets towards the city at the Globe Cinema roundabout, busy as well. Inbound traffic on Mombasa Road is crazy. Airdrome Road is bumper to bumper, trying to head on to Uhuru Highway this morning. As you come off of Ngong Road, busy as well. Raila Odinga Way has quite some traffic as you're heading towards Owings Kodek. And then as we look into North Airport Road and Bakassi, that area, Outer Ring, absolutely crazy. The traffic that is happening on Outer Ring today, I don't know where it's from. 7th Circle of Hell. It's crazy, guys. And also then coming off of Cabanas, heading in that direction, and then heading out onto Mombasa Road in that direction as well. Busy. We're in traffic hour, folks. Let's keep our wits about. We'll talk, keep things moving. SpiceFM, KE on X, hashtag the Situation Room.
So many forward here. Titles are on the line. Rivalries are at their peak. This is the final stretch, where legends rise and champions are made. From the Saudi League to the Bundesliga and La Liga. Recharge your monthly subscription today to feel the pressure, feel the passion, feel the game. Every pass, every goal, every moment matters. Don't miss a moment. Renew your subscription and stay in the game. To renew your subscription, dial *858# for self-service or get in touch with our call center on 0719 077 077 for customer care. Buy a StarTimes decoder at any of our dealer shops countrywide. Download the StarTimes On app to enjoy all your favorite shows and stream live channels on the move. StarTimes. Enjoy digital life. Sebastian Allaire.
Mature, intelligent talk every morning. Spice up yourself. Mornings done right. 94.4 Spice FM, Nairobi.
Our conversations continue this morning, and just coming into the break, if you're joining us, we're talking with Njeri Wabogo, and we're looking at the issues there, the ethnicity card that seems to be played. It's a few people who play this card, though. Mm-hmm. And folks have realized that, okay, if I play this card, then I can use it. You even accuse people who've not even gotten in the game of playing the card because you know that it's going to rile people up, as do emotional things. We cannot run away from the fact that the people who play this game are not Martians. They're human beings. So we also know that if you attack somebody's person, who their makeup, that they are going to react
to it.
So it is something that has been learned by politicians the world over, by the way, and we use this. But the truth of the matter is that they are in the minority, but that the effect is major. So is it something that can be ignored and say, okay, well, we know what you're doing and we can see you from very far, so what we're going to do is ignore you, and we're not going to allow that to take root? Can you do that with something that we have already established gets to the core of somebody's being in terms of how they feel?
It can't be ignored. Okay, it can't be ignored. It can be acted against. But that would be a very deliberate action. And it has to be a core, it has to start from a core group of people who expand it. And it will not start from the politicians, because this benefits politicians. It has to start from within the other people who get affected by it. Because you see, when a politician runs a tribal narrative, you are mobilizing for politics, but you are affecting business community, you are affecting the church. So what we need is the other players who don't benefit, because the business community doesn't benefit from ethnic mobilization, because you don't sell your things to just particular tribes. The church doesn't benefit from ethnic mobilization unless you're running a particular church which operates in a small circle. So there are people, the sectors that get adversely affected by ethnic mobilization need to step up and stop thinking that it is a phase. Because what I've realized in this country, like now we're getting into political season, everybody has started now accepting this bad manners is now, we call it silly season. Silly season is here with us. So people will talk badly for a year, and then we'll take another year to recover, and then we have 3 years to do business, and then we start all over again. What we need to do is force. See, in the first world and in the established democracies, even they try to mobilize ethnically or racially, for example. You go to America and you'll hear the black vote, and you'll hear, and they'll be looking for the WASP vote, and they'll be looking for the Latino vote. But then they've converted that into, I don't know that you can call it a positive mobilization tool. So the blacks are coming together to push for things that are specific to them, not to push against whites. So when you go to talk to them, they expect you to talk about how you're going to uplift things that are common to them. Here, you mobilize ethnically against. You're not telling Mount Kenya, I'm going to do this for you. You're telling Mount Kenya, we are going to stay away from them. So our politics is not even, our mobilization is not even positive. It is negative in that it's drawing us further and further away from other people. When you're campaigning to the black community, for example, in the States, you're trying to tell them how you're going to integrate them into the system, how you're going to make sure they benefit from government, how you're going to do this. Here, you're pushing that conversation by saying, when we get power, it will be about us. We will remove those other people. So the question you ask, can we ignore this? We can't ignore it. We need to deliberately speak to it. But we also are a generation that can speak to it. Unlike our parents, who might have gone to school only with people like them, we are exposed enough to know that we are not just hanging out with people like us. You'll find that you're a circle of friends.
If that's the case, Wambogo, then why don't we see people playing this card every day of the year, throughout the year? If it was that serious, why do we only see it then when it's political silly season, as
because
you say?
The rest of us have decided politics is for a particular group of people, and we bear with them.
Okay.
So we allow them to do their thing, they get into office, and then the rest of us go on with our lives. And that is the saddest part about how our community operates. We imagine that the politicians are playing in their own small field, playing their own small game, without realizing that that small game they're playing is affecting the rest of us. And 2007 should have taught us. Actually, I became a politician after 2007. Before that, I had never thought I would do politics. Because I realized that as we watch these guys play their game, they can actually stop the rest of us. from going on with their lives. They can literally grind the country to a halt just by their bad manners.
Njeri, on a normal day, Kenyans really don't care who you are, man. So we do business with each other. You're traveling from one point to the other. Do you know who's the owner of that vehicle?
No.
Kenyans really
Do you ever
don't
ask
care.
who the pilot? The pilot is from what tribe? When you get
don't
to a
really
plane?
care. You don't even care about the kanjus coming to your business. All you know is, I need to pay this guy, else my business is closed. But here we find ourselves then in these spaces where the political class will come and spew these narratives, yet those who are seated there will clap and smile with them and let them continue with their silliness on that space, that platform that they have been given. That would also be in places of worship. This has happened. What then must individuals surrounding that person at that time do to stop it there and then? For example, Hassan, if the president who spoke last and the deputy president who spoke second last called him out on the utterances that he made, that would have been a game changer. But we don't see that happen.
They'll most probably argue that they didn't want to make it a big thing. They didn't want to highlight and focus on it. And then now people are focused on it. So now everybody is working backwards. I've been in political settings and somebody will say something really nasty. And you're sitting there and you're like, okay, do I want to move from my prepared speech to deal with that person? Or am I just going to hope that
it doesn't blow up?
It doesn't blow up. And let's hold my fingers, cross my fingers and hope that it's going to end here. And then a lot of the times it ends there. But then every now and again you have a Hassan that doesn't end there. And then you now have to start dealing with the issue of you were seated there, you didn't do anything about it. Does it mean you support it? And you have to start also backpedaling. And the problem about it is, again, that issue of we are not very good at correcting people. And very few politicians will correct another politician, even if he misbehaves in front of you. You're like, you know what? Nishauri yake, he'll be sorted. So a lot of politicians who are in that function are saying, you see, I knew Hassan was going to get in trouble. And they most probably spoke after him. But they're like, you know what? Let me not be the one who lights the fire.
The president was sitting right there. The president sat next to him 2 feet away and could have said,
I don't want to be the one who triggers the backlash. Let me see whether it is actually going to be a backlash or hope it might not be there.
So politicians allow yourselves to trip each other up and just allow yourselves to continue
because
misbehaving.
Again, very few politicians hold a brief for any other politician. You're doing your thing and you don't want to be the one who spoiled for the other person.
Speaks about the morality of the political class and what exactly they think about Kenyans, no?
Actually, but who is the political class? The political class is us.
Us.
And that's what I keep challenging people, that the political class comes from within us. And if they're behaving in a way we don't like, then we have the capacity to change that by changing the game. But we have allowed them to do this. If we make it unattractive to mobilize ethnically, they will stop doing it. But for as long as we are clapping for them, as long as we are agreeing, because even in that meeting, not everybody seated there, but I'm sure there were landowners seated there. People who actually own land in the coast, large tracts of land, and who are not from there. And they were seated there. And they must have felt, hey, ujamaa pale anapitia is not good. But they didn't
do anything.
Want to be the ones who counter that conversation.
We now see a changing phase when it comes to how one would say the young people are looking at it. And I go back to the Finance Bill 2025, when I remember tribalism tried to creep in and everybody stood up and said, kama yeye ni Karanja, we are all Karanjas. You know, kama yeye ni Odhiambo, we are all Odhiambos. That is to just say that we are Kenyans and we reason as Kenyans. Tribalism aside, we recognize where we come from. That does not form our decisions and who we are as a people. Do you think that is changing things?
I want to believe very strongly that our children who are now Gen Zs, it's very difficult to convince them that that person is bad because they come from a different tribe. Oh, they're going to give you a hard time. No. They can't be bad because of their tribe. There must be something else. And then, as I said, a lot of them have gone to school with people from different communities. And they've had different religions. So, unlike the past when your parents would tell you don't hang out with people from this community, you can't do that with the children anymore. And I want to believe that we would be the last generation that is misbehaving like this, then they'll come up with their own ways of misbehaving. That is not going to be based on natural cleavages that we can't do anything about. We have picked, and give it to Moi, President Moi, when he was being pushed for multi-party democracy. And he said, you guys don't get it. The minute we introduce multi-party democracy, the first thing that is going to happen is that the tribes the parties that will come up will first be tribal, because it is the easiest way to mobilize socially. You start saying, now as a tribe, we have become a political outfit. To go and that was one of his arguments against multi-party democracy. Of course, multi-party democracy is much better than single-party democracy, but I think we failed to appreciate the challenge that was ahead of us. We fought for multi-party democracy so much, we forgot to prepare for what it would mean. That multi-party, we've created laws that say you can't create a party that is based on a certain tribe. But for heaven's sake, we create a party, divide it, give out random positions to people so that you show that you have a face of Kenya. But we all know, in ya kabila fulani, in ya kabila
But
fulani.
isn't that the best place to start? And this is the thing, that we know that people coalesce around things that make sense to them. And there is nothing, absolutely nothing wrong with identifying as to where you come from. The problem is when you use it against someone else to think that they should not have a role to play here and you should, or that you hate based on the fact that they're not from where you're from. That's where we start to blur cross the line.
And it's the
but there's absolutely nothing wrong
Yes.
with identifying about who you are and where you're from. The problem is now staking that against somebody else. And so when we get to this place whereby people are almost afraid to say who they are or where they're from, and there's nothing wrong with that. The problem is when we turn it into a conflict that can be avoided, whereby we say that in spite or despite where you're from, that we can work together, we can be one, we can be unified. So we take that little thing and we bastardize it and we turn it into something that people can use as a war tool. And that's the problem, because those things are done intentionally, because not everybody can be the same, but in the difference there can be unity. But people take that one thing that makes you different and use it as a tool and focus on it, which is the problem. And I think it's evil.
Actually, the problem could even be much more fundamental than that. We all understand what it means to be the tribe we come from, but we don't have a bigger identity that we aspire to beyond. And I've always used the example of Americans, and I don't know about whether that's how Americans believe. But when you're outside, you feel the American identity is so strong that even if you are Latino, you want to be a Latino who aspires to that particular identity, because it has benefits, it has
because they all
protection.
There is no bigger example of how different people came together, unified, than the United States. Because every single body, that's why when Trump comes and talks about who are they?
Immigrants.
They are all
immigrants.
They've all come from different parts. But it is in the difference that they realize that there can be unity, like you say, something to inspire
there's
to.
an investment in nationhood. The thing about us, we are very big in nation building. We are doing structures, we are doing things. We don't have, and I pray we are going to get there as a country. We do not have a focused effort in nationhood. Today, if you ask somebody, what does it mean to be a Kenyan? They have no clue, right? Until you get out of the country and you see another Kenyan in the airport. They're like, ooh, we went to. But you see, it only becomes we went to outside.
Outside, yeah.
We don't have, I wish we would get a ministry and who just innovates. There's a time we tried to do a Kenyan outfit and then that thing just died.
Yeah.
But you see, that's it. We have a Kikuyu way of dressing, we have a Kikuyu way of talking, we have the Luo way of dressing, a Luo way of talking. What is a Kenyan way of dressing? What is a Kenyan way of speaking? Nigeria has a Nigerian way of behaving. And you'll find that as much as they have their own differences, there's a thing they say that makes them Nigerian. We haven't invested enough in a Kenyanness. Look at Rwanda. Kagame has spent so much time trying to make Rwanda an identity. Why? Because they know where they're coming from.
Yeah.
And you need to have an identity that is bigger than the one that you were born with.
Yeah.
So that even as you were the one you were born with, you can aspire to the created one. Kenyans, we need, if we're going to kill this negative ethnicity, we're only going to kill it by replacing how I feel about being Kikuyu by something else that makes me feel even better in Kenya. So that I can comfortably be Kikuyu. We can be that coat of many colors. I can comfortably be red or yellow in a coat that has many other colors without running over any of them. Why? Because the coat is the most important thing. It is not my red color or my red section. It is that when we are a coat like this, we are powerful, we are strong, we are many good things. And in that way, I will be very happy to be part of the whole. Today, there's no advantage in being part of the whole. In fact, you feel as if you're safer and more politically powerful by being a small part. If we could make a situation where when we come together, those cartoons we used to watch, and then robots unite, robots would come from everywhere. And then they all become this one big robot. Now, if we created a part where I can plug in as a Kikuyu, you can plug in as a Luo, you can plug in as a Luya, you can plug in as a Kalenjin, and then the outfit that we create is powerful and serves us, makes me feel safer, makes me feel more economically capable, makes my environment better, then we are going to be interested in a Kenyan-ness. But for now, the identity that serves you is your natural tribal one. It's where you draw back on. It's where when you feel unsafe, that's where you run. We don't have that identity that is Kenyan that you run to out of the one you were born with. That's what, if we can invest in nationhood building, and I've always felt that our politicians lose that point by taking the easy way out. It's harder to be a nationhood builder. You can do roads and things, but to create a culture that the Americans have created, where all of us are different. So the only way we're going to survive is by creating something that is new, that all of us identify. And you watch the Americans, there's a lot of investment in Hollywood, in the American identity. That's how one American guy will kill a bunch of people from other communities. Because you want to say, as guys. So when you're watching that, you're like, oh, that is an American. Oh, it's good to be an American. Now, and that comes up with arts. It comes up with the study, what you're studying in school. We don't have a Kenyan history. We have a Kikuyu history. We have a Luo history. What is our Kenyan history? What is? Or are we not old enough to have a history? Maybe also we are too new as a state.
Well, not necessarily.
You get, but that's where we are coming from. Because actually, when you say that Rwanda is building their own identity, and then we there are people who are doing it, and they're doing it because they're scared of what not doing it means. Us guys are not scared enough. We have 2007 as a scarecrow somewhere but I don't think it's like it didn't scare us enough. Because if it had scared us enough, we would not be going back there again. We passed a new constitution that tries to make tribal politics hard. And yes, it does make it hard, but we are simply in our game.
In this political silly season, if you were to just speak up in terms of being patriotic, being a Kenyan, what would be your message to both? To us all, to us as Kenyans, not political class, not kawaida mwananchi, just Kenyans.
Let wrong be wrong, and let right be right. Let it not be influenced by where the person who is doing the wrong or right comes from. If somebody is being corrupt, let the Mutanu syndrome get finished. If somebody is doing the wrong thing, somebody has said the wrong thing. And I have tried to practice that you start by dealing with the problems in where you come from. Because when somebody else does it, then Mutanu becomes an argument. You are attacking our person. Deal with your problems from where you are. So if there are people in your community who are misbehaving, deal with those ones before other people start dealing with them.
Indeed.
Clean from inside out. And we'll be fine.
There you go. Njeri Wambogo, thank you for joining us this morning. That we must talk about them, whether it's uncomfortable. And if it brings out other things, then so be it.
So be it.
Asante Sana, thank you for being here. Looking forward to the next Good Morning, 9 a.m.
Spice up your life. The latest news from around the world. 94.4 Spice FM.
Good morning. This is the News Wire. I'm Leah Ubaga. Basic Education PS Julius Bitok and Deputy Inspector General of Police Elliot Lagarde have arrived at Utumishi Girls Academy in Gilgil, Nakuru County, following a dormitory fire that has claimed the lives of more than 10 students. Speaking at the school, Deputy Head of DIG CIPU Masood Mwinyi appealed to parents to remain calm as investigations into the tragedy continue. Mwinyi assured parents that the government is working to address the situation and will provide a full report on the incident. He also confirmed that some injured students are receiving treatment at St. Joseph's Hospital.
Vile vile tunasubiri wahudumu wetu na wauguzi ambao wanashughulikia watoto wetu, na vile vile tunataka wazazi kwanza, kwa sababu hapa kuna baridi, tukae ndani pale. Alafu tukiwa ndani pale ndio tutawazungumzia na tuambie ni hatua zipi ambazo tunachukua, na pia tuwaeleze kwa kina tatizo liko vipi. Lakini kwa sasa unaona tumefunga kila mahali, maafisa wetu wako ndani wanakagua kila sehemu. Tuwe watulivu na kila kitu kitakuwa sawa. Ni jambo la kusikitisha na la kuhuzunisha, na huzuni yenu ndio yetu, kweli si kweli? Lakini tujue kwamba asisi na asasi ambazo ziko hapa zinashughulikia swala hilo, na tuhakikisha kwamba madhara yameweza kudhibitiwa vizuri.
Meanwhile, Rift Valley Police Commander Samuel Ndanyi says rescue operations and investigations into the cause of the fire are ongoing as police, firefighters and education officials continue managing the situation at the school. 4 people have died in 2 separate night-time accidents along the Nakuru-Nairobi highway in Gilgil. In one of the crashes, a Toyota Land Cruiser Prado traveling from Nakuru towards Naivasha collided head-on with a cement truck near Kikopey town in the Diatomite area. Gilgil Traffic Police say 2 people in the Prado died on the spot and their bodies were taken to Gilgil Sub-County Mortuary. Police also reported difficulties controlling crowds gathered at the scene and began looting cement from the truck. LSK President Charles Kanjama has called on the government to reject any plans to establish an Ebola treatment center in the country for patients flown in from the other countries. In a statement on X, Kanjama urged authorities to strengthen measures to prevent Ebola cases from entering the country, arguing that treatment and isolation facilities should instead be located near outbreak zones in eastern Congo or western Uganda. His remarks follow reports by the New York Times that the Trump administration is considering sending Americans exposed to Ebola to Kenya for observation and treatment instead of returning them to the United States. The reports say a facility is being prepared in the country, that is in Kenya, with the public health service officers undergoing training for possible deployment. The White House has not commented on the reports. Wiper Party leader Kalonzo Musyoka has condemned the rising hostility among communities living along the borders of Kitui, Garissa and Tana River counties. Speaking in Mwingi, Kitui County during Eid al-Adha celebrations with members of the Somali community, Kalonzo said the tensions that led to the suspension of transport services along the Garissa-Mwingi highway several weeks ago should not be repeated. He noted that the communities have coexisted peacefully for many years and urged residents to continue embracing unity, peace and harmony.
Hatutaki kusikia tena shida Mwingi. Nikiwa mtoto mdogo nilikuwa nikitoka Sekuru kwenda Mwingi na mtu anasema tunaenda kwa Fara. Mwingi kuna Msomali wa zamani zile, mwanzilishi wa biashara. Kwa hivyo lazima tuheshimu hao waanzilishi wa Mwingi. Saa hii nimeambiwa na wazee wengine tuweke bidii Mwingi iwe county. Hii inatokana na juhudi za wale ambao ni waanzilishi. Kwa hivyo kutoka leo, na ndio mimi nilijitokeza haraka zaidi pamoja na Ambassador Siad, tukaita kikao katika makao makuu ama kwa secretariat ya SKM, tukatoa taarifa because niliona ikiendelea namna hiyo amani ingeharibika.
And finally, Kenya has issued a 30-day notice for the removal of unauthorized structures along the Chebarbar, Lasos, Nabkoi, Mayoni, Bungoma, and Chepsonoi Kapsabet highways. The directive targets all illegal developments within road reserves, including buildings, billboards, signposts, and tree nursery beds. Kenya says the move is aimed at protecting road reserves and restoring order along the affected highways. That's the News Wire. I'm Leah Obaga.
.4 Spice FM, Nairobi.
The following takes place from 6 a.m. to 10 a.m. every weekday on Spice FM.
Members of parliament, they go to settle, they just promised they get given tea, mandazi, and 100,000. That's not development.
External borrowing, 589 billion. Are we on the same page? What did parliament pass?
If anything happened to our president today, God forbid, that man would become president. Na ndio alilenga hizo stories za Shakahola.
The real thing is our constitution has only one person who is accountable to us.
This is the Situation Room, the only way to start your day.
The following takes place from 6 a.m. to 10 a.m. every weekday on Spice FM.
I am also a publicly elected official.
Okay.
My salary is paid by your taxes.
Yes.
So if you need me to answer questions, we will not run away from you.
Asante,
we will always be here.
The government itself is engaging in corrupt practices. That the government itself deliberately schemes to influence through bribery members of parliament.
You pay for a passport online. Alafu you're told there are no booklets.
I rebuke matters corruption because corruption has brought this country to its knees.
This is the Situation Room, the only way to start your day.
The following takes place from 6 a.m. to 10 a.m. every weekday on Spice FM.
SRC's mandate is constitutional. It's not an advice. It's actually something you must do.
Must do.
Like now, he abandoned, of course, the narrative of wheelbarrow, Mutomjengo, Mamamboga, and all those, that narrative, that rosy narrative.
Your expenditure is 3.3 trillion, and you're collecting only 2.5. Out of that 2.5, you're spending 1.8 trillion to service loans and so forth.
That the CDF kit, it's itself a symptom of corruption.
This is the Situation Room, the only way to start your day. Mature, intelligent talk every morning. Spice up yourself. Mornings done right. 94.4 Spice FM, Nairobi.
It's 8 minutes after 9 o'clock and getting into our final conversation for this Thursday. We started off the day a really sad note, and it probably is going to continue into that for today, because unfortunately we've woken up to the news of death, and you know, it's just been unfortunate what has happened at Utumishi Girls' School in Gilgil this morning. And of course, those efforts are still continuing to establish the cause of the fire, number one, and also to make sure that everybody who's injured has been taken to hospital. And of course, then taking account of the girls who lost their lives. So that is an ongoing thing. But just to bring us up to speed on that in terms of, you know, what we know. I have to remind you that whether it is that you're building wealth, which is what you're doing today, or whether you're at home or you're supporting family from abroad.
Yes, Samabanis, hello.
Those ones who are coming, who are sending their money every minute. Britam Whole Life Plan helps you protect the legacy for generations to come.
Important.
The wealth that we're talking about is not just what's in your bank account, but that who you can leave it to in your future generations.
Yes.
That's now when we start to talk about real wealth. your loved ones receive immediate tax-free financial support in the event that you're not there, and somebody will come and help, and it doesn't have to be taken out of your tax by tax, and they can stay secure even in your absence. So then, even if you're not there, that the folks that you've left all of this to will be sure that nobody's, number one, going to harass them. It's not going to be chopped off by tax, and that they can be secure.
Yeah, you know what that assures you, right? So in the event that you're going, you go peacefully, and that even your ghost will not come back to confirm that your loved ones are well, because you left them in a good space.
No ghosts in this one.
No ghosts in this one.
All right. The men and women at Britam have been doing this for 60 years. So they know their way around town, and they've remained a trusted partner in legacy building. So you don't have to worry that your money is going into the wrong hands.
60 years.
Yeah, 60
they know what
years.
they're doing.
They kind of know what they're doing by now. So start planning for the future. Do it today. Send a message with life and your town to 21778, or call or text on WhatsApp 0705 100. Because, folks, this is not about if this is going to happen, it's when. And even as we have these conversations, the budget is still swirling around our heads, and a lot of the conversations around that, then the issues that we're going to have to deal with. Two gentlemen join us in the studio today in the hot seat, and they are already here. Moses Njeri is the Vice President of EMAC. He'll tell you what EMAC is in just a minute. Good morning, Moses.
Morning, Nduh. How are you doing?
Good to see you again.
Yes, nice to be here.
Basi go.
Yes.
We'll talk about that.
Day job.
That's the day job. Let's see what happens at night.
I don't think you want to know.
No? Still too early for the day? Okay. Martin Chomba is the chairperson of the Petroleum Outlets Association of Kenya. Good morning, Martin.
Good morning.
Don't be nervous when you hear these stories, because he and I know exactly what we're talking about.
I know.
Don't be nervous when you hear these stories of the school tragedies.
No, it's unfortunate.
It is very unfortunate.
Yeah.
It has to be well. Let's deal with things when we can. We're talking today, budget 2026-2027. EVs have been talked. We've heard it, EVs, and folks are like, are we talking about somebody called Evelyn? No. Electronic vehicles is what we're talking about. And we'll get into that and the petroleum industry impact. We'll talk about budget. But first, Dennis will welcome you to today's proverb. He'll tell you where we are, and we'd love to get your interpretation.
Today we are in the Gambia. A population of around 2.5 to 2.8 million people. Now, the interesting thing about it is they have 600 different species of birds. So if you love birds, go to Gambia, enjoy yourself, and just listen to the birds chirp in the morning. Nairobi, wezi walienda. Unless you go around Nyayo, Nyayo, then the variable stocks, you see them.
Are those still considered birds?
Exactly.
They don't
or
cheat,
like
they
post-historic dinosaurs. Okay.
Right? But then again, one thing that stands out for them is when they go to elections, they don't use the ballot paper.
The birds? Sorry.
Not the birds, the people of Gambia. They use glass marbles to elect their president. So you just take your marbles and you elect a president, put them in a tube, and that decides who the president is. Affordable for them. They've accepted that's their way of democracy. But let's go to the proverb this morning.
Glass marbles like banos.
Yes. Yes, that one. Banta.
So what if I have like 10 banos?
So there's a tube that is written your name. So if you have many of them, you become the president.
No, I'm saying me as the voter.
How many can you come with is what you're saying. That's a very good
I'm sure
question.
they have mechanism to make sure that
If you played banter, we used to steal the other guy's banter. You step.
So
this is a story for another day.
A story for another day. Yeah, but let's go to the proverb. A disobedient fowl obeys in a pot of soup. You know they have bad soul. Yes, a disobedient fowl obeys in a pot of soup. Hey, Chomba, how would you interpret it?
Like we have another proverb that speaks to the same, and it says that they used to advise people in those days, because there were forests that don't use this route, but they would say, if you don't, as a person that does not listen or hear the advice of not where to pass, will certainly hear the crunching of the bones because of the hyenas that will be eating their legs. So ni asiyesikia la mkuu huvunjika guu. So it's basically that if you don't obey, and now you'll certainly
obey
have
later.
to obey later, but you'll be in a circumstance that will make sure that you don't negotiate whether you want to obey or not. Yeah.
Yes, Moses, how would you interpret it?
No, he takes me back to my methali za Kiswahili in the 80s, which we had to cram. And I remember that one. They used to threaten us with asisikie la mkuu atavunjika guu. But I would also say nguruwe karangwa na mafuta yake. So if you're not, if you've got some bird that's just rogue, it can make a good meal.
Do you understand those two proverbs?
Nguruwe karangwa. That one.
Well said, well interpreted. Yeah.
All right, so in the finance bill, of course, we've heard and seen quite a lot about electronic vehicles, EVs is what been shortened to, and that whether it's a way to reduce issues around combustion when we talk about climate and environment, or if it's a way to then avoid expensive petrol or diesel. But then when we're looking at the finance bill 2026-2027, this has come up. So first of all, let's let you tell us what EMAC is, and try to understand that from that point of view.
Well, Electric Mobility Association of Kenya, which is EMAC, is a member-led organization, and what we tend to do is we do a lot of advocacy for adoption and of electric vehicles. So we started 3 years ago, mainly because whenever we would try and engage authorities or government, they would say, don't come as an individual, don't come as a company. We don't make regulations, we don't make for an individual company, and it's a young industry. So around 44 companies heading to 50 now, and a few individuals who are interested in the electric vehicle space, from the vehicles all the way to the charging infrastructure to carbon credits have come together, and it's a growing organization. And then we try then and be the voice of the industry. So we basically advocate for the industry adoption. We do a bit of education. We do all that kind of stuff. Yeah.
Okay. So electric vehicles have shown up in the budget, in the finance bill, quite some. From what you have been able to understand, Derito, what is going on here?
We've been in these corridors of finance bill from day one. This is the 4th year that electric vehicles have shown up. So I think the idea is, if we speak about specifically for this year, is we had got some incentives a few years ago where some of the components, especially if you're doing local assembly, you would get, we were zero rated for electric bicycles, motorcycles, and electric buses. And then there's no, and that has helped the adoption you've seen in the last 3 years. However, what has been the biggest challenge for the industry is every year we fight for an incentive, and the following year, we are told it's going to be removed. So this year, the proposal is not a full removal, it's moving us from zero rated to exempt, which has, of course, an effect, especially for those who are doing local assembly. So if I am buying, if I'm building a motorcycle and there are certain parts I am buying locally, that I cannot then claim that input VAT, which, of course, I will pass on that cost to the final user. Same thing with the people doing the buses or the bicycles. So then that means it becomes a disincentive. Or then on the other hand, I would say, then why am I buying the local inputs? But if I brought them fully, if I brought let's say seats from China as part of the CKD kit, I will not pay for it. So I think for me, it's I was talking to my colleague here earlier as we were waiting. Electric vehicles are an opportunity, but it is not the switch that solves all the problems. It's not that. This is a young industry. It's a young industry that needs to grow and get to a point whereby we are in a position to start being a solution. Right now, we are literally a baby that's not walking. We are crawling as an industry. Yeah. Very young industry.
Chobo, we look at EVs in the market, and I'm going to look at it in different perspective, right? Okay. So where we find ourselves today, especially in the fuel crisis that we are in, is because the demand for fuel is high. Why? Because that is what is pushing the transport sector, moving of goods, moving of people from one point to the other. Now, EVs comes in as a solution to the demand, because if we buy, say, 1 million liters of diesel, for example, but we have EVs that are being used to ferry people from point A to point B, the demand for diesel will go down because they don't use diesel. So that diesel that you're talking about will then be used for other sectors that need it, right? Now, when we see these in the finance bill, additional taxes going into the EV sector, that means it's going to be expensive to manufacture, expensive for Mwananchi to purchase. That means we'll still go back to our traditional way of importing fossil fuel powered vehicles, which then adds on the pressure. Are we seeing that being a disservice to what we're trying to solve, fuel crisis in the country?
Thank you very much. Allow me first of all to start by an indictment to the people who make policies, and especially around taxation in the country. And as Derito has rightly put it, the fact that today you lobby for something you're given, next year it is taken away through the finance bill, is one of the economic disincentives that we've been talking about, what you call unreliable, unpredictable taxation regimes. Because you remember, when people are looking to put up a business, you're looking at your break-even time, and you're looking at the return on your investment. And when you're doing the postulations, when you're sitting down to do to focus on how you'll do your business, you're looking at maybe 5, 6, 7, 10 years, and there has to be a predictability that allows you now to really strategize. But when you think that every year there will be a change of taxes and laws and all that, then you are not able to even arrange your finances or project how your business is going to be. So that's an indictment. The people who are doing they are doing taxes, and they have an interest to grow the industries in Kenya. First of all, we must appreciate that we need to have a predictable tax regime. So that if I put up a business today, I know in the next 5-10 years, this is going to be the tax regime. Having said that, when you look at the impact of the EVs in the country, within the space of both mobility versus the fuel that we use, we say that petroleum is especially diesel, is a production oil, is a production fuel, and so there's a lot of competition in terms of the industries and the motor vehicles and all that, and the space of EV, we don't, from where I see it, we don't see, and the industry has long accepted. And if you want to know that we have accepted EVs, you'll see that every major petroleum company has rebranded from petroleum to energies. There's a reason, because if you look at any company that you know, they are no longer so and so petroleum, they are so and so energies, because we are realizing and we appreciate that we are changing. The society is changing, so is the business topography. The economic outlook is changing. Why? Today, with the growth of EV, with the growth of solar, with the growth of solar energy and wind power, we have not seen a decrease in the use of fossil fuel. We have not seen that. Why? The economies are expanding. And they are expanding, like he said, the growth in the EV sector in the country is not where it ought to be. Yes, it is coming, but it's not gotten to a place where we would say that it is threatening the use of diesel. No, far from it. Neither is solar or wind power. So they are becoming complementary sources of energy for the economy. And so for us, where we are also changing our petrol stations, the outlets that we have. We are now putting them as energy centers, where if you're looking to swap the battery, that is where the electric motorcycles will come and swap those batteries. So for us, we are not threatened. We are actually building now, investing in making our infrastructure robust, such that if you need to charge, You don't need to go anywhere else. So, and because we have an existing infrastructure, they may not need to reinvest in another infrastructure that looks at charging and all that. So we are just complementing one another. So there is no clash from where we sit, and from development, economic development study, if you look at it, you realize that each part is needed. Why? Today, even if we had 10,000 EVs in the country, the first question, if we had 100,000 EVs in this country, or 1 million one, the first question you need to ask yourself, have we developed our energy sources to a level that we can charge these vehicles effectively? So it is not one thing, because it's I see people look at EV like you can just import 1 million vehicles and they have taken over now. There are a lot of other industry that must be developed, amongst them the energy sources, because they will now compete with the little energy that we have. And today, the beauty about the EVs, they are charging at night. The few cars that we have. So when what our energy ministry has been talking about, we lose a lot of power at night because there is no uptake. So it is becoming a complementing issue where they will charge now, they will be able to uptake that energy. During the day they are driving, at a charge usiku. So when it's charging, then we are not using energy. During the day, the energy is being used by other industries, and it's complementing.
So if we look at all of this in relation to, I mean, the atmosphere, but then we want to say pointedly at the budget, is that, again, electronic vehicles now, with the suggestion in the finance bill, is that they'll be zero rated, meaning they're not subject to tax.
That's what we've had right now.
Yeah,
that's the current position.
That is what we are moving away from.
But that's for local assembly.
That's for local assembly,
not for
of vehicle.
an imported vehicle.
So for an imported vehicle, the tax still is applicable.
Yes.
So it's neither here nor there. And we also know that they're a more expensive option than other vehicles. So why, if that were the case for locally assembled vehicles, what's the position for locally assembled vehicles of an electronic nature in Kenya? Are they? Is it a budding system process, or is it well established? Is there support for it? Because my question is, how would you apply a tax, because this is kind of like an incentive, zero rated on locally assembled electronic vehicles is almost like a benefit. But if you don't have the requisite infrastructure, it's almost like selling ice to an Eskimo. I already have it. Why are you giving it? How is it helping anyone?
I think there's two ways to look at it. The reason why the incentive was given was to encourage the growth. So we are talking about 3 or 4 years ago having 700 vehicles in country. And when I say vehicles, I mean motorcycles, tractor, bus, everything, every category. We had less than 1,000 4 years ago. Today we are above 40,000, and that's growing. Majority of that being motorcycles. Now, locally in country, we already had a very robust assembly of motorcycles, the ICE ones, the internal combustion engine. So of course there is, as you then asking for this new industry to be given incentive, there is competition pressures for those who are already providing. So there was almost trying to level the same, get the same incentives that the guys doing ICE were, but then to make EVs slightly, give them just that bit more benefit, is where they were given that VAT zero rating. And that has been the only benefit that they have above ICE. And the reason how we justify that is an electric vehicle often is either 2 times, if not 3 times, more expensive than the ICE counterpart. And it's a case of technology. EVs have been in the world, at least I would say that mainstream in the last 10-15 years. ICE vehicles have been there from Daimler-Benz in the 80s. So there is a cost of technology. Now, anybody who's then getting into EV has the additional problem of building infrastructure. So if I set up an electric motorcycle or bicycle or even bus, or even if I decide to do electric pro boxes in Kenya, I can't just sell the vehicles. I have to think about, when I sell it to you, Nduh, where are you going to charge? So either I have to sell you charge at home, so I have to sell you the charger. You may need to do some upgrades in your home, or I must do public charging. So
petrol station.
I agree, but Chomba is not going to invest that money until he sees a sizable amount. Otherwise, because these guys are real estate guys.
Chomba is not going to say, okay, that's great, Nderito, you're bringing in 10 vehicles. Okay, let me set up a charging station in my petrol station. It's not going to happen.
No,
it has to make business sense.
He's setting himself up for when I am a regular customer of his. So he's ready. So when there is that vehicle, but when you're talking about 35,000 vehicles in the entire country, it's a drop. So this is an industry that, if we're saying that, yes, if we look at the environmental conditions, we look at energy independence, especially with a huge curtailment, we have 800 gigawatt hours of power that we actually pay for it, but we don't use it. Now, all your border guys who are doing your deliveries, what are they doing between 10 and 5 a.m.? They could be. That's when they're charging. Those batteries have been charging. All the buses, the 100 or so buses that are operating in Nairobi, they are charging. So it becomes, if it's your personal car, it will be charging. So it actually starts helping uptake that curtailment that we are paying for right now, that ends up in our bills that we don't. But if we then can accelerate that tenfold, we then can start being affecting now the things that we are talking about, what the matatu industry is saying. If you've got 1,000 vehicles, it will not affect Nairobi, because Nairobi is 20,000 matatus. Okay, but when you start making, you've got 10%. When the motorcycles start hitting at least 10%, 20%, you may then start putting that pressure is talking, where that energy mix starts changing. And it needs not to be a Nairobi affair. It needs to be a countrywide affair. But right now, what we've been doing is we're doing this start-stop. We agree this year, and people plan for it, and we are showing government, look, from less than 1,000 to 40,000 in 3 years. That shows you there is growth, there is uptake, there is acceptance. But if then I don't know what regime I will be under, what fiscal regime I'll be under next year, every year my investment, or when I'm looking for investment, I'm always jittery, I'm not sure. So
because when you talk about it like that, then I look at the EV sector not just as vehicles on the road. I look at it from a bigger business perspective, where if we left the taxation regime the way it was, right, then that would mean we would see more units that are coming up, which would then force the government to start thinking, all right, Sawa, we have more vehicles that are coming in due course, we will be consuming the energy that is idle, and perhaps we need to start investing even more on projects that will provide the country with more power to sustain all this, because technology and development is something that continues every other time.
The Ethiopians built a huge dam. They realized we have more power than we can use. What did they do? They said ban ICE vehicles for their country. That made sense to them because they have more power they can use. Now they've got a few 100,000 EVs, and that's growing. So what are they doing? They've got two problems in the fuel sector. They don't have foreign exchange to import, and when they import, it's not enough. But they have abundant power, so they're now changing that dynamic. But again, it's not a switch. It doesn't happen overnight. So it's happening slowly. So it has to be a 10-year plan. It's not a 1-year plan that it's not this finance bill cycle of, and I say the finance bill is literally an 8-month cycle, because when you pass it on 1st of July, assuming I'm investing, by the time I import units or kits to start assembling, I will be giving those to customers, if I'm lucky, in November. Okay? So I have November, December, up to around April to do business. Then I start thinking, what are they going to do this year? Will I import? I wait.
So with the changes that we see in the finance bill and the opportunities that do exist, that means you as a business mind who's waiting for enough units for you to set up charging stations, you equally can't put in money in that sector, because you don't know, maybe next year, while we imported 1,000 this year, maybe the coming year we'll import 20, because it is expensive for you and doesn't make any commercial sense. So essentially, we're shooting ourselves in the leg.
You see, the biggest problem that we have in the country, I'll tell you, is a governance issue. And governance from a perspective of differentiating between businesses. And it is true we live in a political economy, but we must be prudent enough to appreciate that there are spaces that cannot be politicized. There are spaces that cannot be left to the whims of politicians. I am an aspiring politician, but I'm alive to the fact that at some point there's the people we call the technocrats in the government, the permanent government, those people who are in charge of policy, those people who have developed these systems over time to manage the way the economy works. And when it comes to the issues of making sure that the economy is persistent and it is predictable in terms of growth, then we have a duty, and we don't have the luxury of looking at it from the eyes of who is in power today or what will happen tomorrow. If we do that, we are dead. I told you, the way I look at the development of EV, I look at it as a piece of a jigsaw puzzle that is the economic development outlook of the country, because they are plugging in to a space where, as they go, today we have around, give or take, 40,000 units in the country. We've not started to feel the effect of the power issue. And actually, we may need to develop them to about probably 400,000 units so to effectively, or to get near to an effective uptake of the power that we lose at night and we pay for. So when we get to a place where we'll be talking about 1 million EV vehicles in this country, then an emergence of a new growth in terms of the need to supply power now comes up. So we may look at the alternative sources of power, and we may want to have people and industries setting up power production business, and that now plays into the larger economy. That comes with so many other infrastructural development, because if at my station now I require a charging space, and I'm putting up that charging space, it will require to be manned by people. So that will be unemployment. Yeah. Today, I told you we have about 6,200 petrol stations across the country. If we transition all those into energy centers, they will require to have probably another 5 people in every station to man these power stations. So employment issue now also gets also sorted in a way. So there are a lot of inputs, and there are a lot of other things that support the power charging space that now requires other industries to feed into it. And so, as I say, it's a whole economic outlook if you look at it. So EV just plays like a jigsaw puzzle, and they just come to complement what is happening around the energy industry and the mobility industry. People should not see it as a competition. People should see it from the perspective of the economic growth, that whatever is happening, they are adding up into a GDP. That's how I look at it.
There seems to be appetite to have this option in the Kenyan economy. What with the president talking about, tax exemption for the first 100,000 vehicles that we brought into the country, and looking at tax incentives across board. So there seems to be an appetite for it. Now, can you have an appetite without having the infrastructure that is required set up, whether it's brick and mortar infrastructure or if it's the basic understanding of what needs to be done? I guess that's for both of you.
I think in the end, if you go to any EV conference, you'll hear that story of the chicken and the egg. But I'll put it this way. 25 years ago, when we started the mobile phones came, the infrastructure was not there. For us who are old enough to remember, Friday all calls would jam. Yeah. Nameless sings it in a song, says that it would jam, and that was normal. But what happened as uptake continued, that infrastructure grew and got to a point whereby it went even above the uptake of the vehicles. Today, we take it for granted that we have internet, for example, coverage of internet across the country because of those decisions we made. So therefore, if I know as an investor that we've got a tax holiday on electric vehicles for the next 3 years, so what do? I start planning on how are those vehicles going to charge, either through fast charging in petrol stations and in other areas. Yourselves here at Standard Group, you've got huge parking. I've seen solar. You could actually put, and your staff members could actually charge using renewable renewable sources here locally. So you start planning for it. The government starts planning where is the next generation. And the one thing that's very beautiful about Kenya is the fact that we are using renewable sources of energy to charge what would have been seen as a replacing what would have seen as a dirty fuel. So there's a very great opportunity for us in this region, especially in Africa. But we have to plan for it. It cannot be year on year that this year we say, so let's bring the 100,000. The moment that is signed into law, and God, I hope and we pray that we will see it in the amendment of the finance bill and the East African community this time. If we see it and that happens, I can tell you his members are going to start looking at investing. And now it's not just the charger. You have to do power upgrades because you might not have enough power at that petrol station. That is Kenya Power has to upgrade the power. That is money being left here that could have gone out. Now, I say that for us, we count how many liters of diesel we replace. Now, if I buy an EV, if you buy an EV for the rest of your life, as long as that vehicle is on the road, you'll be using locally generated power. The vehicles we are using right now are subject to Strait of Hormuz for the rest of their lives. So we have to ask ourselves, what is our competitive advantage? EV gives us an opportunity, but it's not a replacement, because all the vehicles that we have, the 4 million motorcycles, tractors, combine harvesters, all those vehicles, the ones that are currently in the country, will continue using fuel.
Moses, let me just remain on you a little bit. So when you talk about EVs, it's, again, it's bigger than what we think about, because we also get into the climate discourse, right? Because with the amount of EVs that we have in the country, then that is subject for even carbon credits. We can take that to the international community and say, because we have 1,000 vehicles on the road, we've been able to remove X amount of fossil fuels in the air, and we are worth this much. With these taxes getting in, that means it is expensive. That means units that coming into the country will be fewer. Kenyans getting into that space, you are chache. That means also in the entire conversation of carbon credits, the tonnage amount also goes down. So essentially, Kenya stops being the darling of the world when it comes to matters climate change and being a leader to being someone who's passed a law that goes against those policies.
I don't know what to add to that. That's exactly where we are. So here we are in a country that uses renewable energy. We are not burning coal to power vehicles. We are actually using geothermal. We are using wind. We are using solar. We are using hydro. So the marginal, the amount of carbon you're sequestering just by one vehicle is higher than anywhere else in the world. That's the challenge South Africa has, because they're burning coal to power a vehicle. So you've literally, what you've reduced is very little. Here, you on one hand, you're burning coal, which is a big pollutant, and then you say, I'm driving clean. Here, you're getting clean energy and driving a clean vehicle. And then we can even take it, maybe when we talk about carbon credits, it passes people. Assuming you're in Mombasa Hospital, unfortunately have been admitted there. You think there are bees outside because of all those tuk-tuks making that noise. Imagine how would the patient's quality be if we turned those into electric? Noise goes away. It's already happening. An electric tuk-tuk will enter a beach hotel and pick you at reception, but not the fuel ones. There are certain things, the noise in town, the soot around, just that, the particulate matter around Kencom area. If we could just go 30% of those vehicles being clean vehicles, it changes how we operate, even health benefits. One of our biggest challenges in health is respiratory, and you can connect that directly to tailpipe emissions.
Chomba. This is an opportunity then that you would also get to be a carbon credits player, because you set up business, you are charging electrically, and with everything there, you not only get value by charging per hour in terms of someone charging, but you also get to qualify for a carbon credits recipient of the same. With this finance bill, then one asks the question, is it that we do not critically look at what it is we are putting into this finance bill that denies us opportunity to grow as a country. All you're concerned about is political expediency.
You see, you know where you are drawing me to now.
You're the one who said you're an aspiring politician.
Yeah, it is a space that is, yesterday I was driving with somebody and they asked me a political question and that has to do with the finance bill and all that. And I remember telling them, now as I get older, I'm starting to appreciate the wisdom of the person that said that ignorance is bliss.
Yeah.
Because when you don't know some of these things, they don't bother you. And then you're okay.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, we have a disjointed government infrastructure. An infrastructure that, I'll give you an example, that one department of government does not know what the other department is doing, and these departments are in the same ministry.
Yeah.
And so, when everyone is giving their budget proposal or they are giving their tax proposals, they are giving them in an antagonistic way. So you are recommending this within, say we are in the energy, we are in the Ministry of Energy and Petroleum, but you see the people dealing with petroleum are giving this, and then the guys dealing with the geothermal power generation are giving this, and whatever they are giving is antagonizing each other within the same ministry. You'll see when it, I'll give you a very simple example. We have struggled at some point with within petroleum. We have devolution, isn't it? We have places, we have this county, and the Ministry of Transport and the Ministry of Petroleum and KRA are all government ministries. So you'll find that when you're transporting petroleum from Nairobi and you are in Nairobi and you're going to Kiambu, you pay a certain distribution tax in Kiambu for petroleum. Then the same vehicle is headed to Muranga and then to Nakuru or to Njeri. And into all these places, you're going paying distribution taxes of a petroleum product that is regulated by EPRA in terms of all the prudent costs that are supposed to be input costs in distribution of petroleum. But the Council of Governors or the devolution department does not feed EPRA with these costs that these people are paying elsewhere. So you'll find that what EPRA has given and what is required for petroleum distribution is conflicting. It is the same thing that we are having now within where we are. Today, petroleum and EVs, there should be clear guideline that guides how we develop other, say for instance, we need to have a clear carbon credit trading guidelines, and from there, that is where now that is what should inform the policy directives that now cascades down to how we develop the EV, how we develop the petroleum, because of that guiding principle. Today, what we have is knee-jerk reactions. If this industry is making noise, tell them this, give them this. For instance, I appreciate the president saying that the 100,000 vehicles, EV vehicles that we are bringing in, but now he will tell you, and he knows this is true. The customs at that level is not just a Kenyan issue, isn't it? It's an East African thing. So unless this thing is legislated upon, it would just remain a story. And you cannot bring in vehicles to Mombasa and tell the KRA there was a presidential directive that I should not pay. You get the problem. So unless it is legislated upon, it becomes an issue. And for me, what I would wish that we do to grow this industry is what we did with the mobile telephone he was talking about, or the digital space, bringing in the digital equipment away from the analog. Money has a way of following value. You create value, money follows. Investment follows. So when people see value, and value comes in terms of policy directives that are solid, predictable, that if I'm coming to invest $100 million in this country and I'm coming from outside there, I know that for the next 10 years, there's not going to be a tax regime that will, or a physical space that will, I'll be told, look here, the things have changed now, you have to do this, you have to do this. And that is what is disincentivizing investment and the growth of businesses in the country.
So you're saying that the folks
let me
who
just
are
add
outside,
something before you
they are aware?
Yeah.
Yes.
Let me tell you about
investors
value.
are aware.
Yes. Let me tell you about value.
You oscillate between what is right and what is wrong. You don't have a space. We cannot place you anywhere.
Sometimes we talk here and we sound quite clever. But let's take it down. I have a client, I'm looking at his figures. Fuel went up by 35%. Yeah, he drives it's a Matatu. Okay, but they only increased fare by 10%. Okay, so he's absorbing 20%. But by using the EV, he's making 30% more. Because the cost, if you just to take out everything else, you just look at cost of energy, where he spends 10,800 shillings on his Matatu every day in diesel, the equivalent of electric is 3,000 bob.
What is he doing with 3,000 bob in this electric vehicle?
That's the cost of charging.
Okay,
the cost of charging.
Okay,
so when you take it to that level, when the Boda guy who rides that bicycle and brings you your KFC or brings you your Carrefour, whatever the product you've ordered, his cost is much lower when he's using an electric bicycle or an electric motorcycle.
Okay, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
So we said we are talking. Yeah. Okay. How much is this electric motorcycle?
So what has happened in the motorcycle industry, very beautiful thing has happened over the last 3 years. When it started, motorcycles were double the price of an ICE. What have these guys done? They have segregated the battery from the motorcycle. So the motorcycles, in some cases, with some companies, is cheaper than ICE. But then what you do is you swap. So you don't own the battery. You own the motorcycle. Just like you don't own the gas cylinder in your house. It's not yours. You've just rented it. It's an energy receptacle. You take it back, they fill it up for you. That's what battery swapping is. So you go, you take your battery, you get another fully charged one, and you continue. And that is the cost. When you look at that cost, if you were to count it per kilometer, that's much lower. Now, that's what's going on in the motorcycle industry, and that's a mature industry. But why is it working?
But how much is it, Dorito?
In terms of? To swap?
No, to buy the thing in the first place.
To buy the bike.
It's on the high side. It's around 150,000. There are people who are below 100,000 today.
And to buy an ICE, we're looking about 100,000.
Around the same
price.
Okay.
So that's happened because that's growing. If you come to a personal vehicle, we are a country that imports used vehicles.
Yes.
Nobody wants a used EV.
No.
If I look around here, none of you has a 3-year-old phone. People want, but to buy a new vehicle, to buy a 2023, 2024 vehicle, I'm not even talking about 2026. The tax hits you very hard because our tax, the way we've set up our tax is we punish people who want newer technology. So you're telling me as a Kenyan, I wait until that EV is used in
8 years.
8 years. Now, where is the source market? Japan. Japan is not big on EVs.
True.
No.
It's not been. So you only have to get, our only source is UK. Then you have to deal with the sterling pound, which is very expensive. So used EVs is not even
an option.
Then now go to China. China is, you can't buy used EVs from China because they're left-hand drive. So you have to buy brand new, which are specifically built for you. So the cards are already tipped against you.
Yeah.
So when you're thinking about the policy, you must also think about where these vehicles going to come from.
So when the president talks about this tax-free thing of 100,000 vehicles, where are they coming from?
These vehicles will come from China, but they will not come next week because investors must now say, if that is legislated, now the OEMs will go and say, okay, there's a market in Kenya. Let's build the vehicles. Is there charging? That becomes a long-term. That's why it's not a switch. This is a plan. You plan for 5 years. You plan for 10 years.
And unfortunately,
that's what the Norwegians
debate is over. We change the tax regime.
Oh, no.
And remember, we only import 100,000 vehicles in the country in a given year.
Yes.
So it's not saying if it's given on the 1st of July. Are we saying that every imported vehicle in Kenya will be EV?
No.
Where from?
I'm asking the question.
I'm
asking the question, Choba.
Yes.
In our tax regime, seems as if we are knee-jerking and reacting on all these issues, other than staying visionary in the long term. Let me give you an example. Today we talk about China being the leader in terms of absorption and manufacturing of EVs. It's not the United States, it is China.
It is China.
Why? Because China started with the manufacturing of batteries. They understand the technology and they are good at it, because today when you talk about batteries from China, you would take around 20 minutes full capacity charge, because they are good at that technology. Over the years, protectionist decisions and policy, because of the vision they had in changing the country to lower the emissions in the country, they decided to go EV. It is a vision that they've stayed with for over 10 years with the same policies throughout. In Kenya today, we come up with a good policy. We do not look at the vision in terms of 10, 20 years. We are looking at it in 8 months, because we have a finance bill that we need to fund. How does that affect the entire energy sector in moving forward, both in terms of technology, in terms of growth, and making sense in the 21st century?
We agreed, and I agree with Derito, that we bring the conversation to the level that the common person easily understands. And this is how I look at our tax regime. Our tax regime is akin to a very hungry person. The decision they make is not for posterity. Is for what can I eat now? What is available now? So our tax regime, we do not organize our tax around economic growth. It's around collection. Our incentive is where can we collect money now. Whether that industry will survive
or die
is a non-issue, because we have a pressing need. You see, when you have you seen yourself in town and you are in the middle of Nairobi and you have not eaten the whole day, and you are struggling between the 50 bob, whether you can eat kidogo or you can walk kidogo. If you live in Kangemi, your mind now start telling you, I can actually eat 30 bob. I walk to Westlands and use the 10 bob to go to the next place. That decision is not informed by anything other than the pangs, the pangs you're feeling. And so that is our tax organization. We organize our taxes.
You're too kind. I would have said it's the opposite. You've eaten, but you need to go. You need to go somewhere. And
so there is not even a trade-off.
An emergency.
Once now you're full is when you realize that this distance, I cannot manage to walk.
I'm full.
Feel hungry.
So then you start making frantic calls to borrow. To borrow, it is basically what we are doing.
Thank God for Fuliza.
This is basically what we are doing. And so we are finding ourselves in a place where those of us who sit down and wait for policies that we will inform growth of the country now are also akin to a vehicle that is raving. It has everything okay, but the gear is not engaging. You know, unaona ile bus is kwa stage. So they are always like, they are raving to go, but they are not going. Nobody is engaging the gear. And that is how the businessmen in this country are. They are all really, if you ask any business person today, they have a plan. Yes, they have a plan to grow. Everybody has a plan to grow, but there needs to have somebody who, the clutch is already pressed in. The clutch is pressed in, but nobody is engaging the gear. So, and how do you engage the gear? Because we're bringing that conversation down. We are talking about engaging the gear. We want to see. You see, like we had an education sector that grew up in this country in an unprecedented manner. That around East Africa region, we are the best in terms of growing the education sector, especially the private schools and all that, because there was a regime that looked at appreciating education. So whether it was President Moi, every time he was talking about education. When Kibaki came in, the regime was free primary education. And so it was all hands on deck. Everybody knew if this is the policy guiding the country, I will not go wrong by investing in education. We need the same thing. What do we have? A predictable growth strategy, or are we becoming like the business people that you've seen, those guys who say nataka kufanya biashara, and they look at Nduh today is going to China, so I go to China, then I come back, I don't know what happens at China, I want to do what is being done in Nairobi, nauza smoky, I'm doing the other thing. There's nothing that you're doing that is predictable, but it's because it's a fish rots from the head. So if our government policymakers
he's gonna come there anyway.
Give us a consistency way of looking at policies and taxation, then I am telling you, everybody else would start, because they know if I take this road, I'll surely get to Mombasa. But kama barabara inaishia hapa Kibwezi,
and tomorrow another place.
Yes, and diversions. Every day there's a diversion, and those diversions are going nowhere. So, and this is why we must do it as a matter of policy to delink political rhetorics and the business environment.
Well said.
To make it very clear, I think then it was one of the points of this conversation to now understand exactly where we are. So when you hear EVs shouting all over the place at 100,000, you say, hey, this is exactly what it means. And if you don't have the structure, and if you don't then have the real incentive, then you're actually building on sand.
You see what the president said the other day? Look at it from this point. So to manufacture EVs, 100,000 EVs to bring into the country, they are not seated somewhere to be brought into the country. So somebody in China will have to look at that directive, and they'll start investing because Kenya needs them. But then again, this person will tell the people that to do research for them, wait a minute, look at how consistent are these people. So they'll tell you, no. Last year, the tax regime was different. The other year it was different. So it follows that it's likely to be different. So we cannot invest in this because of Kenya.
So if we then plan, and this is what, and I think we're going back to where we started. If we want 100,000, okay, let's say, I like the idea, but it's a good idea, and it's a good step. Now, what is the plan after the 100,000? So if you want to continue enjoying those incentives, you must bring part of that value chain to Kenya. So that I know that maybe 100,000 takes us 3 years. From year 4, for me to continue enjoying duties, fiscal incentives, year 4, I must do maybe some sort of assembly in Kenya. I must do something. Now, that becomes clear. He then now knows that in this year, there will be an increase of 50%.
So I can set up stations.
On the other side, Kenyan is now thinking, okay, with this uptake of power, we need to be
more generation.
And then we connect. So
a whole ecosystem.
So the way we feel is, we talk to transport, they are aligned, they are disciples. We go to energy, part of it they are aligned. We go to environment, I don't know. Then treasury comes, they've not been in the room, and they say that. And you sit there and you start again, and you do this the following year and the following year.
Makes it clear. But time doesn't allow us to go further, but this has been very clear in terms of where we actually need to go. Moses Njeri is the EMAC Vice President, joined by Martin Chomba, today the Chairman of the Petroleum Outlets Association of Kenya. Gentlemen, thank you, both of you, for being here. Hopefully that we can get some consistency, but it has to be deliberate. Asante sana for keeping it in the Situation Room this morning. Good morning, 2 minutes past 10.
The latest news from around the world. 94.4 Spice FM.
Good morning. This is the News Wire. I'm Leah Ubaga. The death toll from the fire at Tutumishi Girls Academy in Gilgil, Nakuru County has risen to 16 after 6 more fatalities were confirmed. Interior Cabinet Secretary Kipchumba Murkomen and Education CS Julius Ogamba are chairing a meeting with the school's management and security team. The meeting is also attended by DCI Director Mohammed Amin and Deputy Inspector General of Police Eliud Lagat. Police have urged parents who have gathered at the school to remain calm as they continue assessing the scene ahead of a comprehensive report.
Vile vile tunasubiri wahudumu wetu na wauguzi ambao wanashughulikia watoto wetu, na vile vile tunataka wazazi kwanza, kwa sababu hapa kuna baridi, tukae ndani pale. Alafu tukiwa ndani pale ndio tutawazungumzia na tuambie ni hatua zipi